he was eating dinner at their house one night, and he said, "Hey, we need to talk about chicken." Isaac took that to mean that he was talking about Peter, the code word, the slang for I think it's little girls.
When I arrived, he was in a much more agitated state than he was on Wednesday. He was very nervous and very anxious, and he was in such a state that his body would get really tight, and his legs would get tight, and his arms would come up, and he was just having whole body clenching. He was so upset and distraught, and he would check the window every time he heard a car pass. He would look out the back window. He'd run down the hall and check his bedroom window. He was terrified.
I believe someone followed him and either put a BB under his tire cap and screwed it down so it was going low, or took a valve stem wrench and eked it out a little bit so it would lose air. And as he's doing 75, 80 miles an hour on the road, it's going to heat up and it's going to blow, and he's going to pull over. And they could have stranded him strategically between Williams and Belmont. And anyway, he was there. He then, according to the night manager, he then at 7:11 in the morning, he saw Isaac walking towards the bridge. And then the next thing we see is at 7:22, I believe it is, on the dash cam from the Camp Navajo. You see the Camp Navajo come by, and it's really creepy. And let me tell you the story about that dash cam, because people said, "Oh, Corey put this out and expects everybody to believe it." No, here's what happened. I received a 17-second clip from his mother and said, "Here, you might want to see this." And it was someone had taken their phone. One of the officers took their phone and they recorded the dash cam video for 17 seconds on the screen and then sent that to her. It is a reward and punishment system. They get you in there, they make you do something on camera, or you think you're doing something, no one's recording it. They come to you and say, "Hey, listen, we found this last night. This tape's pretty damning, but don't worry, we can protect you. We just need you to vote yes on that new Pfizer thing coming out."
Huge thank you to you, the viewers, for helping us get to over 1 million subscribers. If you've not subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. Helps us get great guests and keep doing this hard-hitting content.
Before the podcast, there's a little Attwood family video showing the beautiful shutters we got from Shutters Factory, featuring baby Ziggy and Jen.
So on our channel, we talk about predators, stalkers, and we've moved away from the city to the countryside to get away from them, but it seems they follow us everywhere.
Oh no, not him again. Oh. Goodbye.
You can get a 10% discount on your order with Shutters Factory using promo code Shaun, SHAUN. Link is in the description box on YouTube. Thank you for supporting our sponsor.
I'm a guide, so people hire me to take them to the Grand Canyon, and I contract with high-end private corporate tours and personal tours for high-end individuals. And so I was on tour. I did a pickup that morning on the 13th. I did a pickup in Flagstaff, Arizona, right on I-40. And I picked up a group of 6, and I was heading towards Williams to cut up the 64 to go to the Grand Canyon. I passed right under the Transwestern Bridge. It's true. I got proof. I was working. I made sure I got that, because since then people have accused me of being in on the murder and the conspiracy and all this BS and jazz and disinformation and misdirection. But I can prove where I was. I can prove what I was doing. I can prove where I woke up. I can prove where I picked up the vehicle, all of that. There are records, and I have testimony from somebody, one of the contractors I contract with. When I was going under there, nothing was out of the ordinary. Everything was just as it was every other day. So I go to the Grand Canyon, come out the east exit, down to the Navajo res and home. The next day, because I'm involved in mystery and de-occulting, and it did go into the Epstein, Hollywood, DC connection, all that stuff. Because I was involved in that, the next day my phone blew up in the morning, and they said, "Oh my God, Corey, Isaac Kappy died." And I'm like, "Who?" They're like, "Isaac Kappy." I'm like, "I don't. Hold on, the guy with the hair, right? That's what you always say, the guy with the hair." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember," because I'd watched like 2 short videos, and I'm thinking, "Is this guy on drugs? Is this guy crazy? Is he a failed actor?" I had all the same questions. And I said, no kidding. And I said, where'd he die? They go, up in Belmont. I said, Belmont? I was there yesterday. And I pulled up the TMZ. I'm like, and it said that it was open by like 10:30. I'm like, no. I was under that bridge at 9:26, like give or take 5 minutes. I'm just kind of where I pinned it. I said, I was there, and there was no backed up traffic. There was no fire trucks. There was no ambulance. There was no vehicles. There was no nothing. You know, when you have an event where they block down I-40, okay, you're talking miles and miles and miles. It takes a while to undo that. When you're talking a suicide, especially of the magnitude that we all thought, we all assumed they were going to investigate with Isaac Kappy being involved in an underground social media event called Unseal Epstein. That's what he was doing when he died. With the allegations they made, you'd think they would have just kept it locked off, right? And did some investigation. Nope. Within 15 minutes, it was deemed a suicide. Within 3 hours, the whole entire thing was completely done. But I can tell you by 9:26, when I rolled under there was no emergency vehicles anywhere that I saw, or that any other guide saw for that day that I asked. So I made a video about that. And I said, guys, I don't know what's going on here. This is really weird, but I was there yesterday. What's being said here didn't ask. Besides, that bridge is like 22 feet. If you're going to commit the Grand Canyon's, half an hour north, you can do it right. You can jump off a 22-foot overpass. That'll make a damn bit of sense. And so I made that. 2 days later, I was contacted by a close friend of his who spent some time with him and said, I'm on the phone with the sheriff's office, with DPS, with the county medical. No one's answering anything. No one's calling back. I don't know what to do. I saw you made the video. Can you look into it for me? And I said, yeah, I guess. So I started making some phone calls, and I got a phone call back. And it was from this girl that worked at the pilot station right there in Belmont. And I said, hey, I heard you want to get in touch with me. She goes, are you researching this? Or I said, yeah, I guess. Yeah, what's up? She goes, I know the guy that jumped. I said, what do you mean you know him? And she said, he was here. He's been here for like the last 3 weeks since I've been working here. I said, she goes, yeah, he was the homeless guy. I'm like, no, his name is Isaac Kappy. He was living over in Apple Valley, California. She goes, no, he's the homeless guy. I told the cops about it. I said, can I call you back when you're after work so we can talk about this? So I had about 2 conversations with her. I did record them, and I asked her if I could play the recording, and she said absolutely. And then she got scared, and I can't get a hold of her anymore. I've tried. Her number is now someone else's. She was concerned at the time, but here's what she told me. She told me that she'd been working there for 3 weeks. Isaac, the guy that jumped was there. He'd come and buy cigarettes and beer all throughout the day. He was sleeping behind the pilot truck stop with a dog, and the morning of on Saturday, I think it was Saturday. It was or Sunday. I'm sorry, Sunday. Well, on Friday, he came into the store and told her, and that was the day Isaac cut his last Periscope video, where he said, remember, where it's the infamous video where I betrayed, I have been made to believe I am the Judas, blah, 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 blah. That's the day that this guy came in and said, I can't make it anymore. I just want to end it. I think I'm going to end it. And she got him a shower in there and whatever else. So on the day Isaac made this is the day that this guy told her that he was going to end it. She saw him the next day on Saturday. And then Sunday, she saw him as well. And that's the last she saw of him. She saw in the evening on Sunday him walk out to the overpass, and he usually sat right down below the McDonald's sign and begged for money, or he had a sign, and that's where he was at. I did research I got into the community in Belmont, and I found 8 other people that said, yeah, the homeless guy committed suicide. Okay. So all that being said, Isaac rolls into town, into Belmont. His tire goes flat, right, on 1:30 in the morning on Monday morning in Belmont. Well, this guy that everyone's seen there, he was last seen in the evening of Sunday, just before Isaac shows up. And they're dead ringers for each other. Everyone in the Facebook neighborhood chat group thing was saying that the homeless guy committed suicide. Well, I talked to 3 of those people there and her. I showed them all pictures, and they're like, "That's him. That's the guy that I said, no, this is Isaac Kappy." They said, "No, it's him." I said, "How long's he been here?" They said, "Since February." So I'm like, this is really intriguing. So that's when I really dug into it. And I spent the next 4 or 5 months. We can get into any aspect of this that you want to. On your end, if you pull up the Isaac Kappy mind map, and you can jump around there, ask me whatever questions that you want in there. For the rest of you guys, if you want to follow along with this interview, go to my website, The Phoenix Enigma, Enigma, thephoenixenigma.com. Scroll down about halfway down, and you'll see, say, the Isaac Kappy mind map, or you can just type in the Isaac Kappy mind map. Click on it. Click on the thing that it'll pull up a Visme interactive mind map. Okay, that's not like the P movement map. Okay, this one's interactive. Every box you click on opens up. There are testimonies. There are recordings. There are video in there. There is PDF files. Completely interactive. Download it, share it, whatever you want with it. I put it out there for everyone to see and have for transparency. Okay, that's what this has always been about. You'll also notice that no page on any of the Isaac Kappy research is monetized. We have not. Some people have sent us donations and whatnot. Nothing is monetized, or there's no ad revenue made on the Isaac Kappy. We took time out of our lives to do this for the people who loved Isaac, and you'll learn more about that later. But you can follow along there. You can check it out. A lot of people, I'm surprised, don't know the Isaac Kappy mind map exists, even though it's been out since last September. It is a repository of tons of information, and then there's other people have done quite a bit of info too on it out there. But this one kind of puts it all together to where you can piece through it, and it maps it out so you can understand it. That was the idea of this. Okay, so that's a good starter there. Where do you want to go from here, partner?
Okay, that's brilliant so far. So at the top of the description box is the link just referred to. So if people want to go and pull up the mind map through that link, it is presently just at the top of the description box below this video. We've got almost 5,000 people have jumped onto this live stream in the first 15 minutes, which looks like we're setting a record today. So many people are fascinated by this case. Just to give a recap then, what is going on here? We had the Linwood tweets at the beginning of the year. I read those out at the beginning of this video. Mm-hmm. He refers to Epstein. He refers to Isaac Kappy. There's a bridge between the two. Our motto on this channel is end the war on drugs. Take all those resources to start the war on peace. And we believe that Kappy had discovered and Epstein was part of this huge intelligence agency honey trap apparatus, kids, and biggest names in the world involved in this. Royal family here in this country, Prince Andrew, the Clinton crime family, etc. And this was covered up for a very long time. It's the bravery of the victims, Virginia Roberts, Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer, just to name 3 of them. Please support them because they have managed to bring it this far. Some of these super predators are now behind bars. One is dead. We saw the recent arrests of Jean-Luc Brunel. We saw Maxwell get arrested last year. This is a huge credit to the survivors. And also in the description box are the Twitter handles for Virginia Roberts, Maria Farmer, Annie Farmer. So please, support them with what they are doing because they have had to fight tooth and nail to bring this case this far. Now, in your introduction there, you did mention that Isaac Kappy was speaking out about Epstein. Could you expand on that, please?
So as most of the listeners may know, for those who don't know, Isaac Kappy came out on July 22nd at 1:33 p.m. in the afternoon. And he was at the Comic-Con concert, and he did a, was it Periscope, baby, or did he do Instagram? It was a Periscope. And he came out and he said, man, I've been holding it back for a long time, and today's the day, something to the effect, paraphrasing here. He said, I got to call it out. This can't go on. This can't go on. And he said, Seth Green, everyone needs to know Seth Green, my man, is a I love you, but it's going on. It has to stop. Then he called out Spielberg, I believe. And I think a little later on, he called out Tom Hanks. He says, it's been going on. And then he goes in later. That was the beginning. And then in the subsequent week, it blew up. It just blew up. And he was approached by different characters who got him on On July 24th, he was on Lift the Veil with Nathan Stoltman. He was on Alex Jones on August 1st. He was with Roger Stone there. Alex Jones kind of shun him, but he kind of put the screws to him a little bit, you know, and was, I mean, I get it. Alex has to cover his own rear. How do you say it over there? Arse.
That's spelled A-R-S-E, by the way, not A-S-S-S.
Yeah, I know. We'll have you speaking proper English in no time, partner. So, and I know what Alex was doing. You know, he was covering himself and trying to get news out, but you know, he walks that fine line. Some people say he's compromised. Isaac said he was compromised. Alex put out a map. Isaac put out a map called the Mossad Media Matrix. And for those of you who don't know, Isaac was a B actor, maybe in like less than a B actor. He was in a couple movies. He was in Terminator. He was in Beer Fest. He was in Thor. Just little small roles. So he was in the Hollywood scene. Extremely charismatic guy. His passion was music. And if you go to the mind map and click on Isaac Kappy in the center, you'll go down, you'll find all this stuff.
People are asking if there is a specific link to the mind map that we could put in the chat right now. Do you have a specific link to the mind map?
It's out there. Yeah. Let me, you want to drop it here in the,
I'm on your website right now.
Okay. So, go to my website, scan down, to the big orange bar going across the Isaac Kappy mind map. Just scroll down on the front page.
So front page,
scroll down.
Okay. So is that your about page, your front page?
Nope.
Okay.
Click the TPE in the left-hand corner. It'll take you to the front page.
TPE. Yep. Got it.
All right. Scroll halfway down. You'll see a big orange bar with Isaac's face on it in the mind map. Click on that, or just below it. It says click to enter the mind map.
Okay. Halfway down. Let's
just keep scrolling.
View all videos.
And by the way, to answer
yeah, there it is. Got it. Yep.
And Shaun, to answer your question,
mind map.
Before we came on, I have all the time that you want today. So
brilliant. All right. So everybody who's watching this, I imagine some of you have just done that scrolling yourselves.
There you go.
I am now putting the link in the live chat. So please pick this up from the live chat and we can walk through this together.
And I want to say, first of all, it wasn't just myself that did that. We had a group, a very tight knit group of about 6 to 8 people at any given time in this research group. People I trusted with my life, that were out there digging and researching and pulling information in. I had the idea for the mind map, okay, but a number of people contributed to that. I just want to let that be known. This isn't all my research. And other people want to, some of them wanted to remain anonymous for obvious reasons. They don't want crosshairs on their forehead. But this was a collaborative effort, and credit where it's due. So the mind map is mine. I did build it. I did decide that we needed to put it into. There was so much to the events surrounding the death of Isaac Kappy that you try to explain it to somebody like I did to the FBI, and they look at you like you got two heads. I knew I had to put it in a format to where people could visually begin to understand what was connected where and how, and then the information as it pertained in that thought pattern. So that's why I built that, to make it more accessible. There are other resources out there everywhere across the internet on this. People try to track down what happened to Isaac and all the intricacies involved. Okay. So, but it's there, and it's, there's a lot of good info in it. And, he was eating dinner at their house one night, and he said, "Hey, we need to talk about chicken. We need to have a conversation about chicken." Isaac took that to mean that he was talking about chicken, the code word, the slang for I think it's little girls or little I think it was little girls of chicken or little boys. I forget which one it is. He took Isaac upstairs and showed him this room, and this room was decked out like a child's room. And they weren't expecting a child, nor did they have a child. He thought that was weird. He then states that took him downstairs in this Malibu house and opened up a false wall, like a bookshelf kind of thing, and into another room. He said, "This is where we keep the children." And that's where, and he looked at him and he laughed. He didn't know what to say of it. He kind of became distant with him at that time, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't know really what to do. These were his friends. And he believed all of his heart. I mean, why would you come out and say this in Hollywood? You're connected in Hollywood. You're there. You're friends. you have a great lifestyle. Why would you come out and do this? You know, they said that he was a failing actor. He really wasn't a failing actor. He was transitioning into music because his heart and passion is in music. Have you ever seen Brackets and Jackets Epstein edition? Brilliant. Have you seen that? Where he's singing?
No.
Oh, Shaun, you gotta play Brackets and Jackets Epstein edition. Everyone of you out there, go listen to that after this.
If you're enjoying the podcast, please support our sponsor, NordVPN. As many of you know, years ago, I clicked on a link in an email. It was a phishing scam, and I lost my channel. And it took weeks to get it back. But you can be fully protected from phishing by NordVPN. In fact, loads of people are asking, where can they watch my Sons of Ecstasy documentary? It's not available in the UK. Let's see, United States. There we go. Connecting to the United States. So Nord is the fastest VPN on the planet. So the scammers have got good at creating fake shops online. They take your money, they are gone. But with Nord's Threat Protection Pro, you are protected. Threat Protection Pro is blocking hundreds of millions of scam hits per year. Sometimes pop-up ads containing malware are a nightmare. You're trying to close them, then boop, you go right through. Threat Protection Pro removes these dangerous files from your device. You hear about all of these huge companies getting hacked. Well, if your data is on the dark web, NordVPN's Dark Web Monitor alerts you. You can get an exclusive NordVPN deal plus 4 months extra. Link in description box on YouTube. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Link on the screen, nordvpn.com/Attwood, Attwood. Link in description box if you're watching on YouTube. Thanks for supporting our sponsor. Back to the podcast.
You're going to love it. He's doing this live Periscope, and he's got this beat that he made up. It's a brilliant, beautiful beat. And people are asking him questions about people and about Clintons and about Epstein. And he's freestyling, making a song rhyming about people and these criminals and what's going to happen to them and everything we need to look into. He's dropping all these clues to this beat. It's about 20-something minutes. It's absolutely beautiful. And he has another one too. But So he then couldn't stand it anymore, and he came out at the Comic-Con on 7/22 at 1:33 in the afternoon. Here's something interesting, and being an occultist, being someone who studies ancient knowledge, ancient hidden knowledge, sequestered knowledge, I'm a numbers guy, and I look at numbers. Isaac Kappy died on 7/22 at 1:33 in the afternoon. Okay, I'm so sorry. He came out at 7/22 at 1:33 in the afternoon and told the world about and all that. He died on May 13th at 7:22 in the morning is when he was on that bridge when the dash cam from the Camp Navajo security dash cam camera caught him. Okay. He died on the 13th of May is the 133rd day. He died at 7:22 in the morning on the 133rd day of the year. He came out and talked about on 7/22 at 1:33 in the afternoon. And I mean, it's exact. The time and date of Isaac Kappy's death is an exact reversal of when he first came out and talked about this openly. If that doesn't blow your mind, okay, I don't know what will. Go to the mind map for all you guys listening and click on ritual and numerology. And there's a whole section on all the numerical and ritual similitudes and numerology as it affects vibrationally into this entire public sacrifice ritual, in my opinion. I do not believe that Isaac was, I'm going to bring someone on here in a moment that you guys can hear. And for the record, for those of you who don't know, during the course of this investigation, I investigated somebody who knew Isaac, who was a very, well, not very close, but well, at the time, it's all that he had. They had grown close the last week. Friend of Isaac's, and I interviewed her, and the interview is in the interviews section of that. I did change the voice on her at the time because she was scared and asked me to. She has since come out and claimed that was her. Her name is Alicia. She's my fiance. During the course of this investigation, we fell in love, and we truly did. She was in the research group because she was so close to Isaac and wanted to know what happened. A lot of you've heard the term the Famalam Brigesa.
Oh.
Have you heard that? Okay. Isaac compiled, and we'll get into that right here. Isaac compiled a group of people through well, they were all in a Keybase account at first. All right. Because Isaac was trying to build this underground movement to glean information to where he could bring it in, be like a clearinghouse, and then move it through direct channels to Washington, to the feds, to whomever, and to get the pedophilia stopped. That's what he was working on. He's building an underground social media network called Unseal Epstein. That's what he was doing. Okay. That then got transferred over to a Telegram account. And within this Telegram account, there was a group. There still are groups. In fact, the Famalam still exists on there. There was the Big Room. There was the Famalam group room. The Fam. There's a couple of them, but the Big Room was where everybody was at. And out of that, when I started researching that, someone from them, from the Fam, reached out and said, "Hey, I want to pull you into the Fam. People in here have some information if you're putting it together." They then brought me into the Fam. That's when Alicia found me in there and said, "Hey, I have information for you." I was with him the Wednesday and the Saturday before he died, for the whole entire day, both days. I drove up from Orange County to see him, to spend time with him. And she'll tell you that story here personally in a moment, or whenever you're ready for it. And so I was put in touch with her. She was in the research group. After I posted it, I was wrapping up I had a tour out of San Francisco last summer, and we picked up in San Francisco and did as a Dutch group for 3 weeks. We went all through the Southwest, dropped them back off, and then afterwards I said, "Hey, I'd like to meet you," because we were friends. So I drove down there, and I took a bus actually, and we hung out for 2 weeks and absolutely fell in love. And a month later, I said, "You're the one I want for the rest of my life." Oh. And she says, "I know." And I said, "You want to come to Phoenix since no one can afford to live in California?" And she's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And we moved in, and it's been magic ever since. And of course, there's conspiracy theories that come from that we orchestrated it. And it was organic. It's the way it happened. Just how I told you exactly how it all happened, is God is my witness.
Alicia, so do you want to tell us, Alicia, how you came to get involved in this Isaac Kappy case?
Sure.
Closer.
Well, some of my friends were watching Isaac and telling me that I needed to get online and start watching him. So I put it off for a little while. This was early, right after he came out, at the Comic-Con. And I put it off a little bit. And around February, I started watching, and I joined the Fam-Lam chat. And I kind of sat back because I didn't know, there were a lot of people in there, and I sat back, but I would message Isaac once in a while, and we would have a little bit of a chat. And in May, when things really started to go downhill, he put out a little note in the chat asking if he could have some company. And I lived with no traffic about an hour and a half, almost 2 hour drive away from him. So I kind of waited to see if anybody else in the area was going to pick up his request. And in the afternoon I asked, and nobody had picked up his request. So I told him I'd grab some grub and bring it out and cook for him. And so I went out and saw him on Wednesday. A thing I don't do generally. I don't do internet dating, didn't do any of that type of stuff. Meeting people from the internet was it's not a habit of mine. And I was a little bit nervous about it. I'd watched him and saved, there were days I saved his videos I lived alone, and I'd wait to watch his videos when it was time to eat. So I had company. He became part of my daily life. He was working for a cause that is very personal to me. And I wanted to support him. So I drove out there, and we had a visit, and it was about between 8 and 8:30 when I got out there, and I made him some dinner, and he sat down at the bar next to me in the kitchen. And, when I first got there, he opened the door and let me in, and, it was a little uncomfortable and awkward. And so I just turned around and I said, "Hey, let's ease this up. Let's have a hug." So we hugged for a minute, and he said, "Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you so much." And throughout the evening, then, once we broke the ice, I had many hugs with Isaac. He was so distraught. And this was only the beginning of the distress that I would see in him. But, in the days over the last few days in the week. And but he would stop and come around because he had a little pacing pattern. He'd get up and pace around the kitchen table and come in the kitchen and hug me and then go sit down. And then he'd get up and pace around the table and down the hall and back. And he was really nervous and anxious. And so we sat down and he offered a prayer of gratitude for the meal we had together. And we had some conversation and we talked about a little bit about what was going on and what he felt that he had, he felt that he had done. He felt he had betrayed his president, and he felt that he had probably been marked by Q for brackets. And but he didn't say much more to me about it than that. And he was really upset about it and sad about it. And he told me that he had spent a lot of time in meditation and trying to, I'm talking fast, I'm anxious.
It's okay, you're fine.
Thank you. He spent a lot of time in meditation and was really feeling sad about where he was at with everything. He felt he'd done something wrong, and he felt he had, but he didn't tell me what. He didn't tell me what he'd done, and he didn't really want to talk about it. He more just focused on the fact that he knew that people were really disappointed in him. So, he in his pacing, he stopped at one point and he looked at me and he said, the most important thing in this world is love. And we must remember to stay in the light. When we are not in the light, we are not working from a point of love. And when we are not working from a point of love, we make mistakes. And he said, stay in the light. You tell everybody that I said to remember to stay in the light. And, that night he told me also to remember to guard your thoughts and protect them. Your thoughts can be seen and read and heard by people that shouldn't have access to them now. And he advised me very cautiously. He said, please remember to guard your thoughts, protect them. Even in your own mind, you must protect them. And, he was stressed and his body was tight. And so I sat him in the kitchen chair and I said, sit down. And I'm a retired massage therapist. So I rubbed his neck and shoulders for him and kind of got him to relax a little bit. And I noticed when I was working up around the bones in his head up here and even on the back of his head, he had a knot about this size. And it was extended from his head, at least this far from his head, probably a good full inch. It was a really nasty knot. And he asked me not to touch his head because it hurt too much. And, so I stayed around his neck and shoulders and he started to relax. And he said, I really think that I can get some sleep and I'm really tired right now. And I said, okay, well then I'm gonna head out. But let's get together again in a couple days and I'll come out and see you and we'll spend the whole day together. So we made plans for me to go see him on Saturday and I did. So I said goodnight and I saw him again on Saturday.
Between that time is when he cut that video. She saw him Wednesday. He cut his last Periscope on Friday, just for context. Okay. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's kind of important.
Yeah. So I left early Saturday morning. My girlfriend came over and babysat my pooch for me. And, cause I knew it would be a long day. And, when I arrived, he was in a much more agitated state than he was on Wednesday. He was very nervous and very anxious. And he was in such a state that his body would get really tight and his legs would get tight and his arms would come up and he was just having whole body clenching. He was so upset and distraught. And he would, check the window every time he heard a car pass. He would look out the back window. He'd run down the hall and check his bedroom window. He was terrified. And he told me that day that I asked him straight out, Isaac, I need to know if you're suicidal. I need to know. I did prevention text line for about a year, and they trained us to just come out and ask. So I asked him, are you suicidal? We're all very worried about you. And he said, I'm not suicidal. He said, but what's coming for me? Suicide might be a gentler option. He said, they're going to tear me limb from limb. And he says, I just don't know if I can go through that. And it was horrible. It was horrible to see a man so terrified and feel the energy of his fear for his life. People ask me, is there anything he told you that about, what he said in his last Periscope, in any of this? Is there anything that he said to you? He told me that he was surrounded by some people that he believed to be other than they were. And something between them happened. It was a group of them. And something between them happened, and he discovered that they were not who they said they were. And I believe after all this time and the research that we've done and the information that's been brought to us, that at the moment that he discovered that these people were not who he was, that's when he realized there had been a mistake made. And the mistake was not a malicious mistake. The mistake was not something other than he trusted people and shared things with them that he realized they were the wrong people to share it with. And I believe that I really, truly believe, knowing Isaac, that this was the thing that blew his mind. And he said, in the blink of an eye, I understood. And my mind was blown, and it devastated him. It literally devastated him. That day while he was there with all of the pacing, he was continuing that frantic pacing. And when he got tired, he'd go lay on his bed, and he asked me at one point, can you please lay down here by me and hold me? I'm so tired and I'm so scared. And so I lay down by him, and I stroked his face, and I wrapped my arms around him, and I held him really tight for a while. And I noticed when he got up that there was blood on his pillow, and that knot on his head had been bleeding. And he said, hey, I need to get out of the house. Let's run down the street to get some cigarettes. So we literally ran down the street to get some cigarettes. And he, much taller than I am and much leggier than I am. And it was, I had a tough time keeping up. And we ran down the road to get some cigarettes and came back, and we ran all the way back up the road with the cigarettes. And he smoked that pack of cigarettes down he probably had 3 left in about 45 minutes. And it was, this was in May, and where he was living, there was a big mountain behind him and lots of cold weather to come in. And it had been really cold, and weather came in and a storm came in. It was clear when I got there, but when we were standing out in the yard, these big fat clouds rolled in, and he looked at me and he said, oh, the storm is upon us, and it is upon me. And he ran in the house and he said, I want some tacos. Let's get in the car. And so I said, all right, let's go. And he opened the door and he ran to my car. He said, unlock the door. And he ran to the car and he jumped in the car, and I came and I was behind him getting in the car, and we left. He gave me directions to get where we were going. And we kind of drove around the area a little bit. I'm sure we could have gotten there in a much more direct pattern, but I think he was looking to make sure we hadn't been followed. And the taco place that we went to was kind of in an older part of town. In California, you have these places that were once businesses that sort of became industrial areas. And so there was this little taco joint sort of in the middle now of this relatively industrial area. And it was a Saturday, so the businesses were closed and the foot traffic and the driving traffic was very light. And as we made a left-hand turn onto the street where the taco place was, we had no sound. We were just kind of being quiet in the car, and he was watching everything. No radio, no music. Suddenly, inside of my car was the loudest sound of music I've ever heard. I've been to concerts where there was 100,000 watts of bass and felt it in my bones and heard it in my bones, but there was distortion. Sound when it's very loud creates distortion against your ears. Well, the sound came into my car and it was so loud in my bones like that, but crystal clear sound. And it was Phil Collins' song, and at the chorus, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. And we both jumped so hard, and I slammed my hand on the radio like I was surprised that it had come on. And Isaac asked me, he said, "Do you hear that? Do you hear that sound?" I said, "Yeah, I hear that. Where the hell is that coming from?" And he says, "I've been hearing music and I've been hearing sounds, and it just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop." And it was, again, it was so loud. My windows were rolled up. There was no party outside at one of these buildings. Nothing like that was going on. When we got out of the car, the sound stopped. But as soon as we got out of the car, it started to hail. And it started hailing balls of hail the size of dimes. And it just poured and poured and poured. And he ordered lunch, and he was so sweet. He insisted he pay for it, and he wanted to sit there and eat it, but he was so scared he couldn't. So we packed up we sat down and started eating. He goes, "I can't do this here. We have to go home." So I packed him up and we took him home, and he inhaled his lunch. I don't even know if he enjoyed it. Well, let me tell you, on Saturday, it was really hard to hold energy, to keep a feeling, even to try and bring a little bit of peace for Isaac. If I didn't lay down by him, we'd sit on the couch and he sat on one end and I sat at the other, and I rubbed his feet for him. And I noticed, where your toes come and they meet your feet. I noticed that he had scabs across the tops of both of his feet. And he told me that he'd been praying and praying and praying. And I can only imagine that those scabs came from him kneeling on the floor and standing up, and kneeling on the floor and standing up. And, it was a very heavy day when I had to go home that day, especially with the way things went in the next 20 or so hours after that.
You guys had made plans?
We made plans. We made plans on Saturday when I left. He was going to come on Sunday the next day. Either I was going to drive out and pick him up, or he was going to come and drive out and stay with me for a week or so. I paint, and I had a big studio in my apartment, and I told him he could have all the canvas and paint he wanted, and he could relax and know that he was in a safe place where nobody would find him. And he said, "I would really like that. I would really like that a lot." So we made a plan and said goodbye, and I should have brought him with me. I should have just made him pack a bag and come. It might not have stopped the inevitable, but it might have given us a few more days. God.
Someone's fault.
I can't say anything more about that. I talked to him on Sunday, and he told me, "Let me get back to you." I said, "All right, let's talk about when we're going to get together." He said, "All right." He says, "I'll get back to you in a little bit." And
couple hours later, he said, he said, I really need to go see my mom. So I'm going to pack up some things and I'm going to head out, and I'll see you when I get back. He had plans to come back, and he didn't even make it to his mom's. So, Isaac he was just like the rest of us. He was a real person. None of us are perfect. He wasn't either, but his heart was in the right place. His passion was in the right place for what he was doing. And I get really disappointed and angry when I see people trivializing his life and using it for something else. The work we did on this and the work we are doing on this is for Isaac. It's not for us. It's not for some files and things that people believe are out there. It's not for any of that.
And it's not for money, and it's not for fame, and it's not for a stupid YouTube channel. And it really that really angers me. And my detractors know that it quite frankly pisses me off, because that's really not true. I took 4.5, 5 months off of work guiding. I was turning down tours every day. I said, I'd like to take, but I can't, and guys don't make a lot of money, man. We don't, you get $300 a day or something, and it's okay, I guess, but it's not, for like a laborer, but it's not great. And I was sleeping in a garage at the time. I had to move in. I didn't know I was a much different place. I mean, it's a miracle. My state now is to where I was a year and a half ago. I was sleeping in a garage on a trailer that I used to move my stuff so that my boys could sleep in a room upstairs and go to a decent school. And I made that sacrifice. And in the middle of that sacrifice I was making there, the Isaac Kappy thing fell into my lap. And I don't know. I don't know how many people would have picked that up, but I said, you know what? This is something that's got to be done. I really did. Honest to God, I said, no one's going to touch this. Someone has to do it. And it was a moment, when you feel that you've been touched, and when God's talking, when something's real, it was like that. And I said, this has got to be done. And I dove into it, and it's like something else took over me, and I investigated and documented and brought people together and started, linking it out. And the rest is all history. This isn't for, and people, it's for a YouTube channel. It ain't for a YouTube channel. My YouTube channel's gone. My Periscope channel's gone. What else is gone? What else am I? I'm kicked off of everything. I'm surprised I'm still on Twitter as of today, but I posted something earlier, so I might not be. I got a website, and it's barely monetized, and this was for Isaac. Okay. And again, no material on Isaac Kappy on my website is monetized. My other stuff is, because, I work in research prior, but none of it is. So I want everyone to get that. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Just so you know, Isaac, when I was there spending time with him, he told me that how much time he spent speaking to survivors of SRA and speaking to survivors of trafficking, and that he had call after call after call. He didn't just work to expose all of these elites who are doing these horrible things. He actually gave his life energy and his time and his heart to people who have been through these things. And he told me, he said, you would think that this is a thing that would drain your soul. He said, but I might be the only person they have to listen to them. And it fills my soul to be able to give them love and compassion and understanding and validate their stories. And this is who he was. And he was a tender soul. And his purpose truly was, out of all the things that, his mom told me he knew when he was a little boy that he would bring a present to the world. Now, he wrote a song called The Present. It's a wonderful song, but the present to the world was him, was his heart. And this is why we do this.
So,
and people are saying how brave you are for speaking out Alicia,
Ugh.
both of you
I
guys.
was terrified. I should tell them what happened.
Well, you tell what happened afterwards. I mean, that's all part of it.
When we got news on Tuesday that Isaac had died, within an hour, I was working in my office, and within an hour I had a window come up on my computer screen, and my computer had been hacked, and this window came up, and then I could see somebody moving through all the back parts of my computer. They got my business bank accounts, they got my personal bank accounts, they got all my personal information that you think is safe and encrypted in your computer. Well, let me tell you, there are people that know how to hack in there and get through all your safeguards and get your shit anyway. And they did. My business was in jeopardy, all of it. And so that started off, just an hour after I learned about Isaac's death. And I had to shut all my access to my business account down. I had to shut down access to my personal accounts. And I realized that, something was, that I was watched, because
I think you most definitely were watched over in Apple Valley.
I think I was. Then on Wednesday morning, when I got up, my Telegram notes between me and Isaac in our private chat were moved. I thought they were gone entirely. And they were moved. They had been archived. I didn't even know how to do an archive, and I had to have somebody help me see if they were archived, and sure enough, they were in there, and I was able to retrieve them. But I got really brave and went Wednesday afternoon and had tea with one of the members of the family who lived in my area. And he and I sat down, and I asked him for a pin drop from, Google Maps to get where I was going. And so he sent me a pin drop. And when I opened that pin drop, it was a photograph of a long range rifle. It was not the address. I closed it and I opened it again, and it was there a second time. And the third time I opened it, it was gone. And I asked in between, I asked my friend, I said, I think you sent me a photograph. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I keep opening this and there's a photograph of a long range gun. He said, no. He says, I'm sure. He says, I can see it on my end that I sent you a pin drop. And so then I was kind of scared, to even get in my car and go meet this person. But we were all so upset and scared and grieving that I needed to see somebody in person. And so I went anyway, and, I made a friend of this person. But so here I had this weapon show up in my phone. And then on Friday morning, I had my messages with Isaac were completely gone. They were no longer archived. They were completely taken out. And in those messages was my home address and my phone number. And I started to be really scared. And once I realized that they were gone, at about 9:40 in the morning, I got a phone call from a gentleman calling me from an Arizona phone number. And I picked up the Arizona phone number because I was hoping maybe it was the police had gone through his phone and they were investigating and wanted to ask me some questions, So I picked up the phone, and this gentleman says to me, is this Alicia? And he gives me my full name. Is this Alicia? And I said, yes. And he says, well, are you the Alicia that's an aromatherapist and does this, and this? Like, this man knew my entire story. He knew everything about me. He knew my home address. He knew my work address. And he says, I'm in town right now, and I would like to see you in the next half an hour for a consultation. And I said, I'm sorry, but that really won't be possible. And I hung up and I called my phone service provider, and I began the process of changing my telephone number. And in the middle of my call with the telephone service, my phone got hijacked, and I couldn't even make an emergency phone call. You're supposed to be able to, if your phone drops or loses connection, on they have it set here in America so that you can still make an emergency call. And I couldn't even make an emergency call. My phone was completely commandeered. So now I'm terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And, we were thinking Jeffrey Epstein, we were thinking Tom Hanks, because, these were the people that Isaac had called out. So I ran to my leasing office there in my complex, and I called my girlfriend, and I called the police, and my girlfriend came, and the police came, and the police looked at me. I was shaking so hard. All of a sudden, then I knew exactly why Isaac was in the state that he was in. I understood what it's like to know that somebody is coming for you.
We have another person who was close to Isaac as well, who had text messages with him in chats, and it all got wiped out of her phone as well.
Yeah.
There's another person I interviewed. It was a very strange deal, and I caught a lot of hell for it. But someone approached me about a month later. Was it a month later? Mm-hmm. And she said that she spoke to Isaac after he supposedly died. And this person had approached Nathan Stoltman at the Lift the Veil show as well. And I thought, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, this is all right. This could be bad. It could be good. And I talked to her once or twice, twice, and I did a pre-interview with her. And she's like, Corey, I'm not crazy. I spoke to Isaac on the night of the 13th at 7:30. I was standing on my front porch. I know what time it was. I know what day it was. My husband was coming home from work. He walked up the stairs, and I was on the phone with Isaac. And she said, and my husband said, who are you talking to? I said, Isaac. And she knew Isaac. She was in no, she wasn't in the fam. She was not in the fam. She just knew him. Mm-hmm. And someone else in the fam verified and vouched and said, no, I know this person. There's a tie-in to other people. So she was definitely connected to this group, just wasn't into the fam. And I ran with the story. I had her on, since then I've talked to her since then, like 2 or 3 times. And I said, where are you at on your story? And she said, I don't know what to make of it, Corey. I know what happened. Maybe I'm going crazy. I know what happened. And there's that, that was the one. And I hate to go off on that and give people, hope that he's still alive when most people, including myself, believe he's dead. I don't know what happened there. That phone call is also gone. And this isn't a person who wanted money. She said, don't put my name out there. Don't tell anyone who I am. I want to be anonymous here, but I'm just letting you know this happened and I can't prove it. And I talked to her husband, and he said, "Man, I'm telling you, and these are straight up people. They weren't looking for attention." And I said, I'm gonna need something, guys. And she said, "I got nothing. It's been erased from my phone." So there was shenanigans going on with it. And when you tell people this, they say, "Oh yeah, really? Like you can't prove it. You don't have a text." It's like we all know that any of the intelligence agencies can get into your phone whenever they want. We know that. I mean, how secure is even Signal or Telegram, and in encrypt? I mean, the people I'm talking to in Washington right now use Signal. I can tell you that, but I'm sure the NSA can get in there if they want. I'm sure the CIA can really get in there if they probably want to and dedicated enough resource. I mean, you've been around with them, right?
Well, the NSA, let me backtrack a little bit then over what you've just said and put it in the context of what Lin Wood has recently said and what I've seen Kappy say himself. So many people in the live chat are asking where I was getting these little snippets of Lin Wood's audio from, and they're from the fireside chats. We've seen the fireside chats go up and we've seen them get deleted very rapidly. Mm-hmm. Lin Wood got deplatformed from Twitter. He's on Parler now, but this information is, they're trying to suppress it left and right. So I put some snippets up from the fireside chats that were on YouTube. I know some of them are down now, but I tried to keep it within the bounds of YouTube's terms and conditions. Didn't get into the too incendiary stuff. So Lin Wood, on one of his fireside chats, says that Isaac Kappy wanted to get the information to Trump, but he did not trust any of the federal agencies. But he probably sent it to one of those agencies. And it backfired because the agency that he did end up trusting, once they had the information, they decided to take him out. Now, looking at the interviews with Isaac Kappy said that the actual agency he sent the information to that he did trust, foolishly or otherwise, was the NSA. Do you guys then believe what Lynn Wood has said, and from what Isaac said, putting all this together with your own information, do you believe that that information, he tried to get it to the president, the agency intercepted it, it never got to the president, and a decision was made to take Isaac Kappy out?
Yeah.
We've been in direct contact with Lynn Wood since the 3rd. We've been speaking to him and his team. I was text when Lynn Wood first came out on the 1st with the Isaac material and made that comment. Of course, my world blew up that day. People were texting, and I thought, oh my God, like, this is the godsend. This is it. This is it. This is finally what we've been working for. The mind map is finally going to get some eyes on it. It had some eyes on it, people, but there's a niche people who actually look at this thing, right? And everyone was texting and sending the link to the mind map to Lynn Wood. I received a text from somebody I'm not going to name, and said, I've been instructed to tell you to call this gentleman here. I'm not going to tell you who it is either. He is a very good friend of General Flynn's. I want you to have a conversation with him, and he can put you in touch with Lynn. So I made that phone call, and about 15, 20-minute phone call. I said, I'm going to lay this out in 2 minutes for you. And after that, I said, you want to keep talking about Isaac? And he says, yes. So he then said, okay. And he asked me another series of questions. Said, let me call you back or get in touch with you. I got to make some phone calls here. And he asked me some more text message questions, and I was answering them. And he says, can you attach any of this to any politicians? And, I forwarded him some of the names that Isaac had mentioned. I have no direct knowledge of this, but here's the people that Isaac was talking about. And he said, Lynn will be contacting you. And Lynn called me that night about 10:30, something like that, AZ time. And we had about an hour and 20-minute conversation with him and one of his associates there, a fellow researcher or whoever the guy is, I'm not sure. We've been in constant contact with them as well. There were two days after that, during the day before the 5th and the 6th. But all yesterday I was in contact, and today we've been in contact with them. There's a lot of information flying around right now. It is their opinion. They have knowledge, and I'm telling you anything that he hasn't tweeted it out here. They have knowledge that and intel that Isaac Kappy was given that data dump, a major data dump of video of politicians having sex with children and shooting execution style. That was given to, he said it was given to Isaac it was hacked by the Lizard Squad, and it found its way to Isaac. This is what he's claiming. He says, we have credible intel. And I asked him, I said, Mr. Wood, I need to know where you got that, because there's a lot of disinformation. I know a lot of the players. I've been engrossed in this. I've done nothing but study this and work on this and accrue information and intel on this for a year and a half. I can, if you give me a name, and he says that I can't, I'm not gonna. But he said it's been verified. We have intel. We know Isaac was in possession of it. I don't know Lynn. I don't know how Lynn talks. I don't know. All I know are the conversations I've had with him on the phone, which are 2 now, and the texting him and I have done. And we had a whole Twitter thing, and all my Twitter messages with him are gone now because his Twitter got deleted. I didn't even think to save him. But they have information coming in. Obviously, he has people contacting him left and right. I'm sure, and they're putting stuff out. I will say though, I did hear, and I'm going to be honest, because I call it as I see it. I ain't painting something one way. I ain't painting something the other way. He came out in a interview a couple days ago. I forget the gentleman who put it out. It was a series of 1 through 5, and it was the 5th one. And Lynn made in there. He said, yeah, Isaac was driving, his car went off the road, and then he walked back into the road and got hit. Well, that's just not true. That's not what happened. So Lynn was functioning on bad intel. I don't think Lynn understood. He doesn't know the details of what happened to Isaac. And I think he recorded that before I spoke to him later that day, because it came out like the next day or two. I think it was the next day that had come out. So I don't blame him there. But he was saying some things that weren't accurate, and that's just an absolute fact. If anyone in the family, anyone who studied this the last year and a half, and I'm talking to a million of you out there right now, what Lynn said wasn't accurate. He just wasn't functioning. He wasn't operating on all the intel. So that's when I said to myself, I don't know, where's he getting this intel from? He says it's verified. He says it's a fact. It's true. He told me that twice now. What's true, what's not, I don't know. I want to believe that Isaac was in possession of this stuff. I can tell you right now that 3 weeks, let me get my timeline here.
3 weeks.
Isaac died on May 13th. In early June 1st, somebody else who was following and researching the Isaac Kappy death, he was making a lot of noise online at the time. He was calling other people out. He says, I know what happened. I know who killed Isaac. And there's videos out there. If you go, and I don't want to say it on your show. I don't want to, but if you want to go to the Isaac Kappy mind map, guys, again, it's not monetized. If you wanted to go there, go under Dead Man Switch or the DMS and scroll down, and you're going to find info on this. I'm
posting it in the live chat right now. The link,
okay.
If you're watching this, link is going in the live chat.
There's a video down there. It's about an hour long, and this guy talking, a guy I was in contact with yesterday. As of yesterday, he's still here, but he said he believes who killed or has something to do with Isaac's death. And he also, on June 1st, he disappeared. That was it. And then on the 2nd, his uncle jumped on his social media and said Robert was found hanged in his garage. And there's a note, and I don't know. And he went on. You can read the note. I don't think that note's in there. I didn't put that in there. I will. Robert came back out a while later, and he kind of told the story, and he said, I don't want to go through it again. I don't want to. Somebody got to him. Somebody came up behind him in his driveway, and story that he told, there were 3 of them, and they got a gun on him, and they said, go inside now. They got him in his house, and they said, we're going to cut you up just like we did Isaac. We're going to kill you. We want the files. He said, I don't have any files. I said, I don't have it. I don't have whatever you're looking for. I never did. They said, you're going to write a suit and we can hang you, or we're going to cut you up bit by bit, very, very slowly. And he said it was the most terrifying thing he's ever gone through his entire life. And he said that he wrote that note, and they took him in the garage and they hanged him with an extension cord. And as he was passing out, he saw him driving away, and he woke up on the ground. His uncle says in the note that he couldn't breathe very well. He couldn't talk, but he can type. And he sticks to that story. At the time that happened, I'm going to be flat out honest, I called bullshit. I said, it's just, it's BS. This guy's looking for attention or whatever. I didn't believe it. 5 weeks after that, it was.
5 weeks after Isaac, right?
No, it was 3 weeks after Isaac, or 2.5 weeks after Isaac is when.
Because she also died in July.
She died in July. No, this was June. That's July.
Tracy Twyman.
Tracy Twyman was found hanged in her garage. She said that she had files that were given to her, and she went to the FBI, and she came out, and then her computer started getting hacked. It started happening, bad stuff started happening, and she was found dead. Now, someone else said, you had mentioned, I haven't verified this, but she had dirt all over her. She was found with dirt all over her, like someone had drug her out into a field or something that brought her back.
Before they hanged her.
Hanged her.
Who was Tracy? What brought her into contact with this information?
Tracy is a rather famous in this realm of literature. She's an occultist. She was involved in different sects. She was a practicing witch, for lack of better terms. She was an occultist. So I don't want to demean it, because you call someone a witch and, they think it's all, Wicca and whatnot. She was a full-on researcher. I mean, deep and heavy. She was brilliant. And she was into all kinds of stuff. And she had the, what was the RX only show? The RX only show. There's somebody affiliated with Tracy who's still running around out there. He's still living on the road. His car burned down last month. Yeah. His car caught on fire, and he thought someone tried to kill him again. This is real, man. Like, Isaac died, yes, but someone else got hanged and lived, and Tracy got hanged and died, and they were looking for the file. I think Isaac could have given that file to a number of people. If what Lynn is saying, if his intel is accurate, and I have verified it for myself, and I've told you what, man, after a year and a half of this, other people say that they verify it. I'm like, okay, great. Okay. I want to verify it. I'm sorry, but I need to verify it, because I've had people tell me things that aren't necessarily true, and they're half truths, and they're seen through different lens or filters or whatnot. But if this is true, I believe Tracy had those files. I believe the FBI is in possession of those files, and I believe they squirrel hold those things. I don't think we're ever going to see them again. I think that, there may be someone else out there with those files. That's why Lynn put that code out there. And he says, if anyone has those files, here's the key code to get into them. Get it out there. And he said, listen, I can't do anything else here. We were kind of working together to try and put some stuff together to find if we could track down who might have this. And we had our ideas, and we shared stuff back and forth as much as they would share with me. And at this point, I don't think that they're going to contribute the resources to tracking down any further, with everything that's going on in this country right now. Lynn is a target himself. He will be a target from the new communist regime that's taken over our nation here. They are already targeting people. There's, they've already said they're going to target people. And we all know he's on the list, as well as a lot of other people, probably myself included, even creators out there who are, patriot minded. So there's another war going on here, and this might have to take a back burner. I can't believe that Lynn came out with this on the 1st. In light of everything that was going on with the election, that Isaac Kappy's name was brought out, and I was asked to contact a friend of General Flynn's. That really got me excited, and I'm like, this is finally it. We can finally have eyes on this. Someone's finally gonna do something about it. And and then the 6th happened. The day of Epiphany, ironically, and here we are. So, that's kind of the ins and outs. And I just broke that on your show, for everyone to see. There's been no better time than now to get it out. And I'm a firm believer that the more of this information that gets out, transparency, full disclosure, and hey, Robert, dude, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you on secure comms. I know what happened. I see the accounts that's down. I know you're going dark. I need to talk to you. I need the information. If you're listening to this, I need it. And we need to come forward with it, because if something happens to you, that's it. No one knows what the hell's going on. You're it. Get it out to somebody, if not me, and get it to somebody somewhere. Do it. Please, for the love of God.
This is for his safety. For
your safety, for my safety, for everyone's safety out there. Dude, you need to start talking about it. Because, well, you and I know what happened yesterday. So this needs to end, man. Get it out there. Because
we're worried about you.
Everyone's worried.
We're very worried.
So this isn't a game. This isn't a LARP. This isn't, this is real stuff.
People were looking after Isaac died for who might have been one of the last people to see him. And that was one of those last people to see him was me. Isaac didn't tell me anything. He didn't tell me who he gave those files to. If he gave files to anybody, the most he told me about this was that he would probably be in brackets. He didn't want to die. He knew it was coming for him. He'd been betrayed. And he didn't tell me any of this. All of this information is from research that we've gathered. He didn't give me any information. He didn't want to endanger me. So I don't have information. I haven't withheld any information. And I'm stating this for our safety. We are not.
I love life. I love my woman. I love everything about this life. And we are in no way, shape, or form. You will not find any illicit material on our computers. We're not into any of that garbage.
We aren't into drugs.
I don't do hard drugs, regardless of what somebody on the internet is saying right now. I've never done hard drugs, so I've never been put into an institution. We're normal people, and we don't have some weird secret life. We don't have any affairs or
fetishes or
we're normal.
Personal.
We're just normal people.
Yeah.
So, and we're definitely, most certainly, absolutely not. I don't skydive. I don't take unnecessary risks. I don't rock climb anymore. Okay. Just everyone needs to know that right now. So
my question for you then is, what did the mainstream media report Isaac's official death as? And what do you think really happened?
Within a few hours, TMZ reported that Isaac had thrown himself off a bridge. In fact, they didn't even give him the decency or respect to say that Isaac Kappy had done it. They listed it as the person that attacked Paris threw himself off a bridge.
They didn't even say his name.
They didn't even give his name in the title of the announcement. Such disrespect. And, he didn't attack Paris. They were all playing later on.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. Yeah.
I did some research on this, and
we spoke to his mother.
Well, yes.
We have been in contact with Isaac's mother from near the beginning of this investigation. We've worked hand in hand, respectfully. We don't see everything eye to eye. His parents are of the, and neither did Isaac and his parents. And let's talk about this real quick, just to get this out. His parents are very, very liberal politically. Isaac was very to the right. He was also a believer in the, how do we say it on here? The
P movement.
The P movement, yes.
We're using the preceding letter to say that word for the people watching
Fair
this.
enough.
Gotcha. Isaac got really angry with his mother when they talked about voting and other stuff, and he kind of didn't talk to the family for a couple of years. That's how passionate Isaac was. Isaac had information about Seth Rich. All of us, you, me, Epstein, the people, we know this goes on. We know there is a big, huge operation called brownstoning going on, or sexual blackmail, and PETA is the currency of the elite. PETA is the currency of the elite. One more time. PETA is the currency of the elite. Okay. Everyone here knows that if you're new to this, there you are. It is a reward and punishment system. They get you in there. They make you do something on camera, or you think you're doing something. No one's recording it. They come to you and say, hey, listen, we found this last night. This tape's pretty damning, but don't worry. We can protect you. We just need you to vote yes on that new Pfizer thing coming at you there. The new Moderna thing. Just go ahead and pass that along there, and everything's going to be okay. And they got you for life. And that's why people are in there for life, because the political machines protect those who they've already got blackmail on. And from the judges to the senators to the congressmen to the presidents themselves, it's one big, nasty, black swirling vortex of evil. And we all know that. And that's what Isaac was up against. And he knew he was up against that. We all know we're up against that, but I don't think even Trump understood the length that this machine would go, how well dug in they are. And he listened to people he shouldn't have listened to. He trusted people he shouldn't trusted. And I know all the Q people out there, I'm sorry, all the P moving out people out there are telling me right now, oh, it's not over. It's not over. There's a military. I just got a text here. Is it true that Linwood and Sydney are in front of a military judge right now and unsealing the 195,000 sealed indictments? Probably not. Probably not.
That's probably not a thing.
It's probably something that's going around on these boards, and people are passing it around, or it's active disinformation to keep you sitting there sitting on your hands while they finish locking down our republic.
So after TMZ came out with this article, a few people came out and they claimed to be associates of Isaac, and they wrote some really ugly things about him being a drug addict, about him needing psychiatric care, etc. Isaac did spend a 72-hour period in custodial care because he was having a bit of a breakdown about his personal safety, and so he was unruly and unhappy. And when the police asked him what he wanted them to do, he asked them to take him and commit him for a 72-hour period. He wasn't suicidal, but he was afraid someone was going to come and kill him, so he wanted to be in care. So that's the story on that. He wanted to be in care. He didn't do drugs. I was in his house. I was in his bedroom. There wasn't even any in his bedroom when I was there.
People asking if you could put the mic a bit closer.
Yeah.
Sure. He didn't even have any marijuana in his bedroom. He had a prescription for an antifungal. He had shampoo, conditioner, shaving cream in his bathroom. That was it. And toothpaste. That was all he had in there. His bathroom was clean. His bedroom was clean and tidy. His space was in order. His roommate came out at first and said he was a horrible roommate. He was a mess. When I spoke to her, she lied to me about him, but I could see from the space that he lived in, who he was. He didn't even drink alcohol. He might have half a beer and be finished with it. He took care of his body. He tried to be healthy. He ate well. I don't think he was eating much towards the end because all nearly 6 foot of him was about 145 pounds. He was just skin and bones.
Wow.
Just to tell you, so for those of you who loved watching him, he broadcast just about everything from the entryway of his house where he was staying with that lady, where he had a piece of art hanging. He would put that as his backdrop. So he'd sit in the entryway with that behind him, or he'd sit in his bedroom and he had several pieces of his art in his bedroom, and he would just turn his camera in a different direction so he could give you guys some variety and make it interesting. And so he felt like he had a little variety, but he really didn't leave his bedroom much. He mostly stayed in that bedroom, and he changed it up by changing his background. It was when I was there and I realized how he had his little broadcasting system set up. He not only cared about, the message that he gave to everybody and the love that he shared to everybody that was part of his broadcast every day, but he wanted it to look somewhat professional and like he wasn't living in his bedroom. He really cared about that. It was important to him. So, these people came out and said some things about him that were false and untrue. And again, when he passed away, the talk screen even showed, he had a little bit of weed in his system and nicotine. That was it. There were no hard drugs. So, I know people talk about that and ask, the story about Paris that we got a little derailed there.
Yeah. Finish up.
They had been playing around and playing games, and he jokingly was choking her, but not he didn't grab her and choke her and try and kill her. They were playing around. And a couple days later, someone got into Paris's ear, and Paris filed a report.
Wait, back up. After they were playing, and
he stayed the night at her house.
Yeah, after he allegedly choked her, he stayed the night at her house. And then
she took him
the next
shopping
day,
the next
they went
morning.
shopping the next morning, and she bought him a hat, like an $800 hat.
Yeah, which is in the possession of his mother.
Yeah. So and I believe Isaac,
there was no hard feelings between them.
Isaac talked to I believe his mother about that situation. If I
do believe
recall,
that's true.
If I'm not misspeaking, and she said that Isaac said that absolutely did not happen. And what happened is that Paris Jackson knows where her bread is buttered. And she's part of the Hollywood system. And if she's going to maintain her status there and be part of that cult, well, Isaac had to go down because he was calling out the pedos. And, he needed to be blacklisted. And that was the perfect opportunity. This happened on, by the way, Isaac came out on July 22nd, 1:33. This whole thing happened somewhere between July 22nd and August 1st. So Paris Jackson came out, that party took place. The whole Paris Jackson thing was right there at the end of
right after he came out at the Comic-Con.
Yeah, right after that. So it was a hit job to push him out of Hollywood so that everyone would know, listen, This guy's blacklisted. Don't give him any work. Don't talk to him. He's done. TMZ covered it, did a really, really bang up job on it. And
A lot of shaming.
a lot of
For
shaming.
something that didn't happen.
But, it doesn't matter what happens. It matters what they put out. And I'm telling you guys, in the next, foreseeable future in my country, 99% of everything you're going to see on TV and in the radio is going to be absolutely, absolutely false. It is narrative and script, and that's where we are.
To be clear, it was Paris Jackson.
Paris Jackson.
Paris Jackson.
Did I say Hilton?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's
My
okay.
bad. Not Paris Hilton.
Not
Paris
Paris
Jackson.
Hilton. It was Paris Jackson.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So, Corey, do you want to go over to what Linwood said about Seth Rich next, or do you want to go over to Epstein next?
Okay. He never mentioned Seth Rich to me. But there is a Seth Rich connection with Isaac Kappy. You want to talk about that? Because
Yes.
I went through and listened to that one you did last night about Seth Rich, and it blew me away because you mentioned MS-13. There's another MS-13 connection here. I believe the people that are going out doing these hits and doing the strong arming are MS-13, and I believe they have been paid because we have a witness who has survived and said that they were MS-13 from their tats and their behavior and their ethnicity. And
it's the intelligence agencies that recruit.
That's exactly right.
The criminal enterprises to do their hits.
Isn't it strange? We have somebody connected to the Isaac Kappy who they tried to murder, and he said they were MS-13, and then we know it was MS-13 who got Seth Rich as well. That's a connection. Now, get this. Within the mind map, you'll find a box called the usual suspects. There's one called Seth Rich. That's very, very lean. I have to beef that up. And guys, by the way, you got to keep in mind, I put the information in the Isaac Kappy mind map out last September because I had to get what I got out. It's updating it continually. I had a lot of YouTube videos embedded in there. When they killed my channel 2.5 months ago, I had to take all my videos, re-upload them to Brighteon, and then embed those into the website. So since then, also more information is coming in, and I'm aware of, because even I, studying this 24/7, can't keep up on all the details and the rabbit trails on this deal. It is so interwoven with DC and Hollywood, Australia, the international, cabal, all of it. It's one big control mechanism, because when you talk about pedophilia, it is the currency of the elite, and that's what Isaac was exposing. And the people who came to him, they were sent there for a reason. I believe that Isaac had infiltrators from the very, very beginning. When he came out, I think people came out, just the first ones, and said, "Hey, man, yeah, right on. I'm here for you." And they dug in and burrowed in like a freaking tick, and they've been there ever since. Some come, some go. But two of the people involved, the day after Isaac died, two people stood up, and you can read all about it. And I don't want to say names on your show. I'm going to respect that, because you don't want that.
Let me just tell the people in the chat, I'm putting the map in the live chat right now. Click on Seth Rich on the mind map, and it'll take you over to a whole new page that starts with, believe it or not, Isaac Kappy was connected by first of separation to the Seth Rich murder case. And I'm actually going to put that link also in the live chat right now. So I'll put SR link in the live chat, so you can go directly to that page. So we're all on the same thing here as Corey tells us.
Yeah.
Talks us through this.
Yeah.
Let's go over to what you said about what really happened to Isaac's car.
Okay, we'll go there. On the timeline of events, I was lucky enough to come into possession of Isaac's debit card statement for the last 3 months of his life. I got that sent to me as a miracle, and I went on to the beginning of it, and I did not post that online. There are segments of that online, but I did not post his personal financial stuff online out of respect. By the way, for the record, the only two things I have not posted online is his full bank deal and the graphic photographs of him on the ground, dead, mangled, because out of respect for him and his parents, and obviously. So, and I caught a lot of heat for that, but screw the trolls. Isaac spoke to Alicia at what time? 3:30, somewhere in there. On Sunday.
Yeah, it was about 3:30.
3:30. Said he was going to go visit his mom. Split second decision. Packed up his car. He told Michelle, his roommate, I got to go. I'll see you in a couple days. She was just coming back and he was just leaving. She was on a show down in LA, I guess, at the time. He got in his car. He stopped at a little marketplace and bought something because I have it. So I had a timeline of when he left Apple Valley. He looks like he got gas and a drink, and then he took off. And I basically got on Google Maps. I'm like, okay, it takes you this long to get to Kingman, to where he next stopped. And I took that miles and I took to see how fast he was going. And I said, okay, from that spot to that spot, he purchased over here and he had to have been over here. So anyway, I followed him all the way for his purchases down Route 66. And when he got to Williams, Arizona, I knew there had to be cams there because I'm a tour guide and I stop at the gas station every single week, 3 times a week. And I knew where he stopped in Williams, the only Love's truck stop there. And I went in there and said, hey, I need the name and number of your manager. And I said, I'm looking for some video if you can get it to me. He says, what? I said, listen, here's who I am. Here's what I'm doing. It's part of a bigger investigation. Gentleman's dead. He goes, oh, the guy on the bridge? Because he just heard about it. I'm like, yeah. I said, I'm looking for something around like 11:45 p.m. Somewhere in there, you're going to find a guy walking in, probably in all white, I'm thinking. He had, and I had his dollar amount. I said he spent like, I think it was $12.64 or whatever it was here. So I thought I was going to hear back from him in a week. He calls me back like 5 minutes later. He goes, got him right here. He says, you're right. He's all in white. He said, big froey hair. I said, that's him. He goes, you were 1 minute off, man. It's like 1:46, I think it was, or something like that. And I'm like, can I get a copy of that, of the security cam footage? He goes, I can't. You need to call the security of Love's. So I called that guy and I'm like, listen, man, I'm not a cop. I'm not a judge. I'm not an attorney. I'm not family, but I need this. He says, I'll tell you what, man, I'll give you 2 stills. I said, I just need to show that he was there. He said, I can do that for you. So he cut me 2 pictures and they're on the mind map. I put him in there. It's him in white. That puts him at the Love's truck stop in Williams at 11:46. Okay. He then got on the phone. And by the way, I also tracked every phone call he made. I spoke with everyone he was on the phone with in order from between that, because I know who he was talking to. As people were coming in, I was plugging them into the timeline. He talked to this person. He talked to that person. Gio called him. So-and-so called him. So-and-so called him. John called him. And by that time, he spoke to another friend who asked to remain anonymous. This person will speak to the FBI or whomever. Most of the people will. They just don't want their names out there. Not that the FBI is, any great bastion of safety and hope either at this point in America. But he was on the phone talking with this gentleman. And when the tire blew out, his tire blew out and he pulled off the side of the road. He said, I'm in Belmont. He pulled off and he pulled to the side and he sat there for the remainder of the phone call. And they prayed. They talked and they prayed. This person came out and said, he wrote a letter, said, I was talking to Isaac when this happened. One of the first people to come out, I think Lift the Veil actually he read it and put the thing. It's even in the mind map. So he talked about what they were talking about Jesus, and he was a Christian at the end there. And then he said, all right, I got to go. He hung up. He called his mother, said, hey, I got a flat tire. I'm broken down. I'm in Belmont. They're an hour ahead. So it was like 1:30 her time, I believe, or it'd be 12:30.
I'm not sure what time it was.
Well,
in California time, it was 1:37.
Okay, so they're an hour behind over there, or I'm sorry, ahead. So anyway, 12. She talked to Isaac. He said, "Hey, Mom, I was coming to see you. I'm stranded. I'm not stranded, but I'm broken down. Got a flat tire in Belmont, and I'll see you tomorrow." She said, "Okay, all right." He then she said that he left his vehicle right there on the overpass on the south side. And he walked over to the Days Inn. He got a room. When he checked in, he told the guy, he said, "No, I don't have a vehicle." Probably because he left it across the way. Okay. The night manager said that Isaac was walking around all night long, smoking cigarettes. He'd been out pacing and smoking cigarettes. However, this is the weird thing. The last text message on Isaac's phone was at 1:37 a.m. on Monday morning. Okay, that was it. Isaac was a social media machine. He never stopped texting, never stopped tweeting, never stopped, he was always on talking or calling. He was always on that phone. Someone was always talking to him. And I find it hard to believe that a guy who was chain smoking American Spirit cigarettes, feeling exceptionally paranoid and scared to death that he was going to be killed, walking around chain smoking in the middle of the night, stranded in Belmont, Arizona, there ain't nothing there, wouldn't be talking to somebody. I believe someone got a hold of his phone. I believe something happened there. And I believe that tire was sabotaged. And I'll tell you how I believe it was. If you lower the pressure in a tire and run it with a low pressure, all that air heats up and then the tire explodes. All someone had to have done at the Williams truck stop, someone had to follow them out of Apple Valley. And when they got the spot that they wanted, which was a really remote center of Arizona next to the Camp Navajo military facility. Okay. Right. I mean, it's right there. The Camp Navajo is Belmont. It's kind of the same thing.
The way you're describing this makes it sound like it's a really large area. When you're there and the freeway's right there off the freeway, it only a few steps, really only a few steps, and you're at the hotel. Only a few steps, and you're at the gas station. Another couple hundred steps, and you're right at the gate of the.
He wasn't 80 yards from where he parked his car to where he went, or maybe 100 yards over to the hotel. And if you would have gone the other way, 100 yards, 200 yards, he would have been at the Camp Navajo. So I believe someone followed him and either put a BB under his tire cap and screwed it down so it was going low, or took a valve stem wrench and eked it out a little bit so it would lose air. And as he's doing 75, 80 miles an hour on the road, it's going to heat up and it's going to blow and he's going to pull over. And they could have stranded him strategically between Williams and Belmont. And anyway, he was there. He then, according to the night manager, he then, at 7:11 in the morning, he saw Isaac walking towards the bridge. And then the next thing we see is at 7:22, I believe it is, on the dash cam from the Camp Navajo. You see the Camp Navajo come by, and it's really creepy. And let me tell you the story about that dash cam, because people said, "Oh, Corey put this out and expects everybody to believe it." No, here's what happened. I received a 17-second clip from his mother and said, "Here, you might want to see this." And it was someone had taken their phone. One of the officers took their phone and they recorded the dash cam video for 17 seconds on the screen and then sent that to her. And we realized when we looked at it, one of the researchers said, "Hey, Corey."
A week to figure that out.
Well, no, I mean, he saw it immediately. He goes, "Dude, this is the whole film. This is a cell phone clip. Look, you can see the edge of the monitor." So I called his mom back and said, "Hey, is this the whole thing?" She said, "That's what they gave me." I called to the Coconino County Sheriff's Office and said, "Hey, there's a film that I should have received with the evidence bin, as I purchased all the evidence months ago, never came in. It's of the dash cam." And they came back and said, "Sir, we can't give that to you." I said, "BS, man. It's in the evidence. It's in the evidence report. I purchased the evidence. It needs to be in the evidence bin." And they put a sergeant on. And he said, "Let me see here. Yeah, I think we can get it to you. We're going to have to mail it to you." I'm like, "Do it. Put it on disk and mail it down." And a week and a half later, I called and said, "Yo, where's the evidence?" And they said, "You didn't get it?" And I said, "No one said." He goes, "Oh my God, it looks like they forgot to send it on Monday," or whatever it was. He said, "Hold on, what's your email?" And I sent an email. He sent me a link, and boom, I downloaded and burned it. I said, "By the way, where was this evidence 2 months ago?" And he says, "It looks like on the tracking, it got accidentally sent down to the Arizona Department of Public Safety, which is DPS, sort of the highway patrol here." And I said, "Why did it get sent down there?" He said, "I don't know. They sent it down there on accident, and they had to send it back up here." And I said, "Then how come they told me I couldn't?" He said, "I don't know, man. You got it now." So there was like a 2.5 month delay on that evidence. That's the one where, what song is being played in that? The guy in the dash cam, he comes off the off ramp, he turns left, and he cruises across the bridge, and you see Isaac sitting there, with his hands in his laps, the straight back, sort of leaning back like he's going to fall off. Not braced. It's most bizarre.
His hands are folded like this.
Yeah.
It's very
nothing. No one believed it. I didn't.
Bizarre.
Yeah, I didn't believe anything about. To my gain up here a little bit. I didn't believe anything about it, Shaun. No one else did. I've been accused of manufacturing that video, and who would put that music in there? I said, "Dude, that's the evidence that got sent to me. What you guys are seeing, what I released on my YouTube channel at the time, which is now on my Brighteon, that is the evidence that got sent to me. It's got that song in it. The guy was listening to that song on the radio, apparently, when he did that." Shaun, I'll tell you what I think happened, and until it's proven otherwise, it's kind of where I'm at on it. I think Isaac was laying down, and I think they propped up his knees, And I think they took a photo, and they took that photo and turned it 90 degrees and put it right there on the overpass bridge.
It's definitely a strange posture.
Nothing.
It is, and when you look at even like at the back of his hair, the back of his hair is perfectly flat, and his hair, you can see it out here is kind of frizzy, but as it comes to the side here where the back of his head is in that picture, it's perfectly flat, like it's got, like he's on a board, like it's flat.
It looks flat. His whole back looks flat. And not only that, when the car is moving across the overpass, there's nothing else moving. There's no trees.
His
Belmont's
hair doesn't blow. His clothing
windy.
don't blow.
He's just sitting there mostly. There's no other cars for no frame of like reference. No trucks are passing. You see trucks passing before, but afterwards there's nothing. And that was really suspicious to me. There's a laxity in the skin in his face as well. His mouth is kind of hanging open. Like that.
Strange.
Just bizarre.
There's something wrong with it.
Yeah. And then when you get in on the left-hand side of the mind map there, you'll see boxes called remaining questions and one called conflicting testimony and mistakes. I mean, it's really bizarre that where are the mistakes here? I think I read out a whole ton of them here. His mother, and I don't want to drag his mother into I really don't, but his body was never identified by any family members. They were told that the body was too far gone. So he was never identified. So a lot of people believe that he could be alive and like witness protection. At the time we're like, what? I mean, like no one really thought Isaac had anything that deep. But now in light of Lynn Wood's testimony, or Lynn Wood's tweets rather, this is something you go into witness protection for. Yeah. It really does make, but
I mean, it would be plausible for Isaac to be in witness protection. If, and he, there's a slim chance that maybe he even lay down on the ground to act out the part of him being dead so that he would look very identifiable.
There is a witness. I interviewed 4 of the 6 witnesses that day that are in the witness report. The only 2 I did not interview were the Deck brothers. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of strangeness going on with these people. Not these people, well, a few of them, but John Koch was in the front. He's the one that called 911. He said he was driving. His testimony states that he was driving across the bridge. He saw a man acting erratic. He calls 911. He pulls over and he's watching it through the rearview mirror while he's talking on the phone. When I talked to him, he said that Isaac was just like he was on the bridge. He was sitting there facing east, the rising sun, but he kept turning around, throwing his left leg over like he was getting the urge, the gumption to like jump off. 2 cars back were the Deck brothers. They were in a truck going to school that morning across the way in a truck stop. And they said that Isaac was leaning back, trying to like fall off backwards and kept moving his arms
to maintain his balance.
To maintain the balance, because you do instinctually, like you can't drown yourself. You can't really fall off something either. And that he had, and they saw him leaning back. These people were witnessing him at the same time. There were only 2 cars apart. I got two separate stories, but you hear John say, or sorry, I don't know personally. You hear Mr. Koch say on the 911 call. By the way, the 911 call recordings are in there. They're in the mind map. All this is in there, guys. You hear him say, "Oh my God, he just went over. He just fell off." I think is what he said. He gets in his car. He runs down the embankment. He's talking on 911, and then he says, "Oh my God, he just got hit." Okay, and he stays the whole entire time. And then you got another witness driving down the road, and he stated that he saw something. He thought it was a sheet fall off. It was white, probably white sheet. And he pulled up and he looked out and he said it looked like a mannequin or a woman at first. That's his words. He pulled off and he was shutting the door and turning around with his hand on the door to shut it. He saw Forrest Scott Proctor run over Isaac with his F Ford 150. And the front axle struck Isaac in the head, he said. So we got 2 people stating that they saw the Isaac fall from the bridge down. And we had one guy with eyes on the whole entire time and another guy that had eyes when he came down here. And 2 people saw him simultaneously get struck. So we have those 2 witnesses, right? One of the guys was not an Arizona resident, and I spoke to him several times at length. And the third person entering here is Aaron Hudman. Aaron Hudman drives up, and one of the witnesses tells me personally, Corey, I think I saw her car strike him. I said, what? He goes, I think her car hit him. Like, I saw it. And I told the other witness this, and the other witness said, no, that's not what happened. You didn't see it right. You were over there. And he said, I saw that her car hit him too. So we have one witness telling us, and anyway, she gets out and she comes back. And then you hear John on the phone say, sorry, Mr. Koch. He says, yeah, we have an EMS here. She identified herself as emergency medical technician, and she's taking pulses and whatnot. And they had already dispatched the Ponderosa Pines Fire Department, which is in Belmont, so it's less than a quarter mile away. They come down. Okay, well, guess who Aaron Hudman is? The woman who first responded and took the vitals of Isaac. She was an off-duty employee on her way to work for the Ponderosa Pines Fire Department. She did like the financial aspects and the ordering and stuff. Okay. Get this.
Starting to stink yet?
Then she tells another witness, the other guy that saw him fall, she goes, by the way, when they give you the reports, you just want to like write down the least amount as possible. You don't want to be involved in anything like this. So you have the person working for the fire department, the responding fire department, telling other witnesses there, the person that the guy might have seen her actually strike the body, not to fill out in detail on the reports. And the reports are PDF'd into this Isaac Kappy mind map as well. The two kids on top who stopped, yeah, John Koch never mentioned to the cops that the Deck brothers stopped and ran up to Isaac. He just said, oh my God, they went over. In his report, he doesn't talk about it. He doesn't mention anything that they stopped and came up. Kind of an important detail, I would think, right? The Deck brothers are the son of a fire chief in Flagstaff, 10 miles away. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying there are definite fire department connections here within one organization for the people who responded and were there. So, and then the military base dispatched a fire truck. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, I got up last night. I finally got a copy of the Ponderosa Pines Fire Department report, and it is absolutely worthless. There is nothing in there. I called and I ordered it, and he sent it to me, and Isaac's name doesn't even appear in it. And I called back, I said, hey, I got a blank page here. But so one of the PDFs I scanned has a blank page. And I called and I said, hey, there's a blank page. He says, yeah, we can't give you any personal information. I said, what is this? He goes, it just shows that we went out there. I said, I know you were out there. I got the video footage. Like, it has a couple names of the people, and that's all they said. So then they're on the ground and they're pulling everything out of Isaac. Now, here's the weird thing too. There's a lot of still photographs, but all the video body cam footage is blurred out. So if Isaac, and I say if, and it's a big if, and I don't even believe this, but if Isaac was alive, you can still see someone breathing on a video. All the video's blurred out. There's only still photos. That occurred to me the other day when you and I were talking about that. And it does lend credibility to that theory that I'm not even halfway sold on yet. But they were going during the deal when the cop is standing there. And by the way, all the body cam footage is uploaded to the mind map. You can go watch it. It's up in the videos and recordings, I think. You see a fireman walk up, and he's got this cell phone. And the cell phone says, and he said, the fireman says, hey man, I don't know if this is his or one of your guys's, but I found it over there on the road where the body would have been. And he looks back and points about probably 20 feet away. The body didn't move, Shaun. I have two witnesses tell me the truck was so high when he hit the body, it may have moved 6 inches, but it just struck his forehead, right? The front diff ran over him because you can see the grease and dirt marks come up of Isaac's body, and then the front axle hit his head, and he said that when the front diff kind of hit his body, his head popped up a little bit, and the axle hit him right here, and so the body didn't roll. He said it didn't get dragged, didn't roll. It just kind of got shoved down. It got 6 inches maybe, and like shoved down, kind of smushed down. He said, and the wheels didn't run him over. It was just the undercarriage, the metal, the hardware that had hit him. So the body wasn't over there like the fireman said. It was never over there. He hands the cop a phone. You can't see it from the footage, but there's a push notification because it was an iPhone. And back off my mic here. Too much gain. And it's he's reading it. You can't read on the phone, but in the report, he writes, there was notification on the front, but we couldn't access the phone. And it said, you need, maybe you should get out of the room for a while. So the investigating officer there believed that Isaac, in his mind, Isaac was told to get out of the room at the Days Inn. And that's why he was out there. Okay. Everyone else in our research group, everyone understands in social media, it means get out of the chat room for a while. That's what I took it to mean instinctually when I first heard it. Well, this cop, and you can see the video footage of them going into the Days Inn room. There's a 45-second video, I think, of them actually in the room. They circle around. No prints were taken.
They should have looked in his bed. If they had looked in his bed, if he slept in that bed, there would have been some hair because he had all that hair. They would have found some hair and they could have said, you know what? He slept for a while.
So the bed was messy, but that was it.
Yeah, the covers were a little rumpled up, but it didn't. We don't know if he slept. So if that time from 1:37 to 7:11 when he was seen again in the morning, we don't know what happened to him because we don't even know if he lay down and slept in that bed.
Yeah, and so the cops are operating under the presumption that Isaac was not alone. He was in the Days Inn room with somebody else. Something was going down, and he was asked to leave the room, walked out, and jumped off a 20-foot bridge to commit suicide.
Okay, so if you're traveling with someone, do you just walk away from them and commit?
Hold on his way to see his mother for Mother's Day with gifts in the back of the car for her after he had told Alicia that he'll be back in a couple days and he'll go spend time with her. After he told 7 people in 7 conversations he was not suicidal and told on a Periscope that he's not suicidal. I don't believe for 1 second Isaac jumped off that bridge. I don't know what exactly happened on that bridge. I know that we have 6 witnesses with 10 different stories, and none of them match up with what the cop wrote down either. I know that within 15 minutes, they decided it was suicide because you can hear it in the cam. And then within 3 hours, the case was closed. I've called the Coconino County Sheriff's Department. I've called the DPS. I've called the FBI. His mother went to the Attorney General's office of AZ, Arizona. No one wants to touch it.
The only thing that we can do is assume that he went over that bridge because there are people saying he went over the bridge. We do know that he has his body on the ground, and from looking at his body and from having people that knew him well take a look and match moles and things like that, we know that's his body there.
Let me just go.
That's what we know. The rest of it is unsure. Yeah,
we had one of the people in the research group knew him. Also spent time with him in California, and she had matched up. She goes, "No, I knew him. I have personal photos on my phone of him," and she matched up all the moles. So if that body on the ground, it had to have been Isaac's, either alive or dead. I believe that was Isaac, one way or the other there. But here is a list of stuff that the mistakes in this investigation, right? The breadth and depth investigation were treated as if a much more minor and less important investigation, even though Sergeant Jameson advised he would contact on criminal call investigation after Deputy Luna notified him that the incident had turned fatality. The sheriff's report was only 8 pages in its entirety, of which 5 pages right up to the 3-hour investigation, which took place after Isaac's death. This included all witnesses' statements, as well as search of Isaac's hotel room and the Days Inn, according to the body cam footage, which took about a minute and a half. Even though the authorities were aware of the totality of and magnitude of Isaac's celebrity status, right? The entire of the pedophilia, the network rings, Hollywood, DC, did not appear to factor into the evidence gathering. The video footage from Isaac's check-in at the Days Inn was never gotten. The video footage of him going into the pilot state was never gotten. They never asked for any receipts anywhere. They didn't go back to California. When I called the medical examiner's office and said, "Have you guys what have you looked into this on this point?" I said, "Are you aware of his celebrity status?" And they said, "Yeah, we are." I said, "Have you talked to his roommate?" She goes, "No, we don't work with out-of-state agencies." It was obvious to everyone there that he jumped off the bridge. I said, ain't obvious to me. He goes, well, do you have information? I said, yeah, but I need information from you. She goes, well, we'll take any information that you may have. And I'm thinking to myself, if you were the one who told his parents not to look at the body, and you want me to tell you what I know here? I know, fool. I don't know what's going on here, but you know, all the information comes in with them and none of it ever goes out. No one cared. When they pulled through all of his pockets and went through all of his stuff, he had his passport. He had 2 forms of ID, 2 or 3 credit cards and debit cards. And he had a little card for a tire shop, a truck shop across the street.
Now we were told that he doesn't carry a wallet, but it's interesting to me that some of that wasn't left in his car, you know, or even in his hotel room, that he would have it, all of it, including his
everything
passport to walk over the bridge. That's strange. Make sure you identify him.
Sort of like on 9/11 when you're sifting through the rubble and you find a passport in perfect condition that tells you the face, the name of the freaking terrorist that was flying the jet. Well, here you have Isaac Kappy with a passport in his pocket and 2 forms of ID and 3 credit cards and a whole bunch of other stuff. You know what I mean? Do you kind of see what's going on here yet? And
people in the chat are asking what was the role of the homeless person.
Okay, so the homeless guy. Let's get into it. This is one of the most bizarre things. I don't know. My thought is, and the only thing I can water. The only thing that I can think here is that there was some kind of an operation going on, and somebody who they made to look identical to Isaac was positioned in Belmont. Maybe they were seeing if he was going to be going back and forth. I don't know. I can only surmise and guess, and that's all it would be is a guess. I do know that someone who looked identical to Isaac. And guys, go to the homeless man. I think that's what it's called here. The homeless man, top left-hand corner on the map. And you'll see right there, assorted Belmont residents ask about the homeless man who jumped in their Facebook feed. The William Love truck stop guy told me it was the homeless man who was bouncing back and forth. Belmont resident 1, Belmont resident 2, and the pilot station cashier. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 people I talked to personally, and then a bunch of people in the actual chat down there.
I'm putting the link in the live chat for the homeless man page right now.
So let me just read this here, and this is what I wrote, and it's not too long. What are the odds that a homeless man that looks identical to Isaac Kappy is hanging out at the truck stop hotel overpass since February? What are the odds that everyone whom I interviewed thought the man who died that morning under the overpass was the homeless man? What are the odds that the day Isaac made his last Periscope saying he would be willing to pay for his treasonous betrayal in public execution, the homeless man walked into the pilot and told the cashier that he was thinking of ending it all and committing suicide? What are the odds that the homeless man would pick on average the coldest place in Arizona, Belmont, and it is, by the way, in the coldest month of the year in Arizona, to spend the next few months when he could have hitchhiked a ride down to warmer places with more resources anytime, especially when he had told the pilot cashier that he was cold. He was too cold outside and he just couldn't do it anymore. And then and I didn't write this. What are the odds that the guy walks out to the overpass westbound? And the girl told me, she said, he walked out to right there. And she showed me the spot in the dirt and said he looked like she walked out there like he was going to catch a ride. And I assume he's catching a ride. I don't know what he was going to do. He didn't tell me. He told me he was going to come on Friday and end it. And then Sunday morning, I didn't see him Saturday, I think. And then Sunday morning, I watched him walk out there, and no one has seen him since. I had people on I-40 looking for this guy for the last year. I still have people up there. If you find a guy that looks like Isaac Kappy, you give me a call and let me know. He has never been seen again. Sunday morning, the guy gets out of town. He'd been there since February, and Monday morning, Isaac Kappy rolls in at 1 o'clock in the morning. What are the odds of all of that? And then Isaac forces himself off a bridge, and 8 people think it's the homeless guy. Maybe it was a diversion. Maybe there was another plan there. Maybe what happened to Isaac was an ancillary plan. Maybe it wasn't, plan A. Maybe it was B, C, or D. I don't know, Sean. I just know that. And when I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. I'm not going to fabricate a story. I don't know what it means. I just know that this is it. Some people said that Isaac's brother could have been his brother because Isaac looked nearly identical to his brother. I don't think so. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. I've spoken to his mother, and
for the record as well, scroll back up to the photo. Yeah. Oh, they're not seeing it, are they?
No, they can't see it.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
All right.
So I interviewed Wendy a while back as well, or not interviewed her, but she came on to set the record straight about some other shenanigans that were going on in this deal. And people said that I didn't interview her, and it was her aunt, and there was Isaac's aunt, and all this BS. It was Wendy. Everyone who knows Wendy, it was Wendy. We've been working with Wendy, and so for the record, that happened. She came on the show, and she tried to set the record straight, and she did. And they're very private people, and I want everyone to understand that. Do not get in contact with this family, please.
This was extremely heartbreaking to this family.
They're being, I mean, I spoke to her a few days ago about all this again, and she said, Corey, this just, we're waiting for this to like die down. And I said, Wendy, it hasn't died down. From the moment it happened, it has only gained in inertia and momentum. And now the president's attorney is tweeting about your son. I guarantee you the president of the United States of America has your son's name on his lips. I said, that's where we're at here. This is not going away. I don't see this going away for what it's worth out there. So people, just leave the family alone, please. I'm going to ask you.
Don't message her. Don't email her. Don't try and call.
There's no great conspiracy with her.
She really wants her privacy.
Yeah. They're just, they've been through a traumatic thing.
This was very devastating.
And then the fallout of it afterwards has been equally devastating.
It has been, with there's been some crazy people making videos saying they know the family and telling lies about the family. It's psychological abuse to her. And so, I know that you all wish her well and send love her way. But please
leave it at that.
Please let it be.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Okay. Yep. So we were going to talk for about an hour. We were going to talk about Kappy, Linwood, Epstein. We're now 2.5 hours in almost on Isaac Kappy. What I was going to say, because I've seen your presentation on Epstein, and I know it's a long one. It's got a lot of details. Perhaps we should do a separate live stream on Epstein. And for now, take some questions from all these viewers, because we've had consistently 7,000 to 8,000 in the chat. We've already had tens of thousands of people watch this.
Okay.
And these people have been with us now for 2.5 hours. So I'd like to open it up to questions. If you've got a question, please put it in the live chat.
Ask me anything.
Are you familiar with the Lizard Squad then, who they are?
I wasn't until Linwood tweeted it. I'm not a techie guy. I'm not an internet, sleuth. I'm not a digital assassin. I'm not a hacker. That's not my world. It's a really dark world. No idea.
Plugging in a camera can be challenging over here.
Yeah. So no, I had no idea until that, but I have talked to friends since then, and they're like, oh yeah, no, that was a big deal, man. Like they were out doing that. They were making a lot of stuff. Apparently, according to Lynn, they hacked into one of 10 agencies worldwide and downloaded a mega file folder of video footage of politicians and children. Wow.
Kelsey Does has asked, does Trump know about this?
I do not know. I don't know. I haven't, I've been texting. I've been in communication this morning. I have not spoken to Trump. I would, if he wants to know personally. I'll be more than happy to speak to him or anyone in his administration if they can prove that they are in his administration.
Lizanne Haig has asked, did Isaac Kappy, did he do something to betray Trump? As far as I'm aware, he was trying to get the information to Trump, but it was intercepted.
So that's the story, and that's what it's shaping up after Lynn's stuff. I don't know if Lynn's operating on bad information. He says he's not. However, I know there's a lot of bad actors involved and a lot of disinformation agents out there from the beginning, and some that have come in to misdirect and waste time and keep us down a bunch of squirrel holes and rabbit trails. I believe that in the end, it's just as Isaac said. I have been made to believe that I am the Judas. So someone was in his ear talking to him. And I believe, and I don't care how crazy this sounds right now, I believe he was being affected by V2K, voice to skull technology. And people don't know what that is. They'll go out there, oh, that's just sci-fi and you're crazy now. No, it's real technology since the 60s. There's hundreds of patents on it. It's been used. There's whistleblowers on it. It is a real technology where they can literally beam microwave into your head. Your head is the receiver, and you can hear in your head not going through your ears.
There's documentation of it being used against troops in the Middle East to get them to lay their arms down.
And it happened to you when you were with Isaac.
And it happened
Most
to
importantly.
me when I was with Isaac. The music that we heard in the car that day came from inside my bones. It came from inside my bones. It came from inside my head, and that wound on the back of his head. He did tell another person that he'd been hitting his head on the floor.
He did say he was praying and praying and praying a lot. I can see Isaac having been bombarded with V2K nonstop to where he can't sleep, music, voices, nonsense, whatever, and then a voice coming in and telling him what to do. And I said that early on after I heard Alicia's story, and people said, "You're insane, Corey. That's nuts." And you get out there, and there's people that say they hear voices all the time. All the time.
With what I read on what they tried to do to Castro, all the different techniques they used on him, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. You got a question from Florida Girl. What about that truck driver that supposedly saw 17 people up there? That was weird. Where did he go?
Okay. I'm telling the story again here. Here's what happened. I called the man who ran over Isaac. Okay. The girl at the pilot station, the first contact that I made there, and by the way, she did work at the station. I know this because I called the gas station itself and asked for her by name, and you can hear the cash registers in the background. And they're like, "Yeah, hold on 1 second." No, they answered pilot station, Belmont, and I put her on and we talked. I interviewed her about the homeless guy / Isaac. She calls me a day later and says, "Do you want to talk to the guy that ran over Isaac?" I said, yeah. She goes, "I got to drive out there. Well, I'll call you when I get there." She drove out to a nearby town. She spoke to him. She says, "Okay, I gave him your number. He'll call you, but he wants to be anonymous." I said, "Okay." He called me a day later, and he told me, and I did not record the conversation, the first one. And he told me, he said, he was answering questions. He says, "Yeah, I was going down the road, and Shaun, buckle up, man." And I'm not saying I believe it. I'm not saying I'm going to tell you what was told to me. I'm not verifying or vouching this. Okay. I'm relaying a story that's in the mind map as it was told to me. So get that straight. Everyone who's going to use this, because if you say something on the internet, people think that you're vouching for it, or that you're supporting it. I'm just telling you what was told to me. So get it straight, everybody, before we do this. He told me that he was driving down the road in the right-hand lane, eastbound. And as he was approaching the overpass, he saw a bunch of people up there. And I said, "How many?" He said, "I don't know, maybe 18. I said, "Okay." And it wasn't 17, it was 18, he told me. And I said, "Okay." And then what? He goes, I said, "What do you think?" I said, "I don't know what's going on. I thought it was like a protest or something, And I said, "Okay." He goes, and then I looked down, and they were all pointing and waving down, and they were doing this, and I didn't know what they were doing, and I thought they were protesting. And I looked down, and there was a piece of cardboard in the road. I said, "Cardboard?" He said, "Yeah, there's a piece of cardboard in the road." I said, "There wasn't a body? You see white?" He said, "No, I saw a piece of cardboard in the road." And I didn't have time to go around, so I went over it. And I hit something. And my first thought was, it was a box of kittens. I said, "Why did you think kittens?" He said, "Well, in my mind, I saw a protest and I thought PETA. Maybe it was a PETA protest." I said, "Why would PETA protest be out there?" He said, "I don't know, man. It's just what went in my mind." He was being honest. He was speaking off the cuff. And he said, "That's what I honestly, I said, "You thought," so I said, "So you thought you ran over a box of kittens?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "What'd you do?" He said, "Well, I slowed down." He stopped about 200 yards out. So he must have been going about 82, some 82 miles an hour. He pulled off and he walked back. And I said, he said, "I don't know what I hit. I was going to go back there and check it out." As I was walking back, I saw the woman. I said, "What woman?" He goes, "There was a woman there." I said, "What was she doing?" He said, "She was pulling the cardboard back over the body." I said, "What?" He said, "She was pulling the cardboard back over the body." I said, "Body." I said, "So you saw a body?" He said, "Yeah, I saw it. I saw it in the arm sticking out there." I said, "So you ran over a piece of cardboard and you realized that it wasn't cardboard. And then when you got back, the woman was pulling the cardboard back over the body." He says, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, man." And this is before I interviewed the other witnesses. I said, "Are you sure?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, what happened?" He says, "Well, no, they called and they showed up and I was walking. I was really upset and blah, blah, blah." So I ran with the story. I went out there and said, "Guys, I had this conversation." I talked to him, and everyone, Shaun, came at me. They thought I was making stuff up. They thought I was just fabricating, that I was starting a narrative. That's the honest to God story the kid told me. Okay, I say kid, he's in the mid-20s. I called him back, and I recorded it probably 2 months later. And I said, hey, Scott, it's Corey here. I want to talk to you a second. He says, Corey, I said, from the Isaac Kappy thing, the incident there in Belmont. He's like, oh, well, what do you want? I said, I just want to clarify, man. I said, I've talked to the witnesses. I've read the reports. I got data in my hands here. I just want to verify, give you a chance to verify that what you told me the first time. He goes, something like, he goes, yeah, about the cardboard? I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, I ran over the cardboard. I said, you're sure? He said, yeah. And I said, and then when he came back, he said, yeah, the woman's pulling it over. I said, you sure? He said, yeah, I'm sure. And I said, because, man, I asked the witnesses, no one else saw any cardboard there. I asked them specifically, and they told me no. He said, well, I'm telling you, I said, do you know where they got the cardboard? I said, how big was the cardboard? Was it like a big, huge box? Was it a piece of cardboard? Would it come off of a truck maybe? And he goes, listen, man, I've had enough. I don't want to do this anymore, okay? And he hung up on me. And that is in the mind map under Cardboard Gate. That happened. That's what the guy who ran over Isaac Kappy told me. Now, people are telling me that he's a shill, he's deep state, he's this, he's that. I don't think that that's the case necessarily. I've been told that his mind put the cardboard there to deal with the tragedy of him doing it. That's probably the most reasonable explanation, because the mind does things and protects itself. However, Shaun, if Isaac was dead before he went over the bridge and someone had him in a box and threw him off, and this has been talked about quite a bit, and then everyone showed up on scene and executed it, or maybe something went over, a dummy went over, they pulled the dummy and they put a new dummy or Isaac or whatever. I don't know. I don't know, but maybe something along that line. I'm not scripting. I'm not saying it happened.
Some kind of switcheroo.
Some switcheroo happened involving a box there, and he saw the woman pulling the box over.
Wow.
And the witness.
The only problem where that comes into having a problem is if there are people who are stating that they saw a person at the top of the bridge in some way, shape, or form trying to go over or going over.
Yeah, that would mean that they would have to be in on it.
They would all have to be in on it, which means all the people involved in the reports, the fire department, the sheriff's department, all of them would have to be in on that.
Yeah, unless the person on top of the bridge wasn't Isaac, unless they grabbed Isaac that night and it was the homeless guy acting who went over the bridge, and then the switcheroo happened and something took place there. Okay. This could have gone down a number of ways, and this is getting, granted, this is getting conspiratorial at this point, and we're guessing, but there's a number of scenarios that could have taken place there. Not just, did he jump or was he pushed? Any number of things. And I'm going to say it again. His father did not verify the body, and it was cremated the next day. So that's always been a sticking point with me, and you have to acknowledge it. I'm going by facts here, and we wanted to get to the heart of the truth. But
yeah, these are the questions that are left unanswered because of the facts that we have.
Did I forget to mention earlier that the woman who responded, the EMS lady who worked for the fire department, she was given a promotion 3 days later? I think I forgot to mention that. To another state, but maybe back now. Did I not forget? I think I forgot to mention that.
Not at all unusual.
So, man, this whole thing this is why it's not going away. It's these questions here. All these questions that I've brought up in the mind map and posted here, Oh,
another thing that people ask questions about and it hasn't been asked in your
belt?
Is your
get the mic a bit closer.
Oh, sure. Something else that hasn't been asked yet by your audience yet is about the DMS film that was released. The video of the little girls in the spa. It's been researched, and it's a spa somewhere over in Turkey, I believe. It's a family resort, and a lot of times these places, the very high-end ones, are themed, and if you don't have swimwear or if you don't have something they give you, everybody gets the same swimsuit. So it would make sense that a bunch of little girls, if you're on a family this looks like somebody's family vacation video, and the girls are playing in the spa. They're pretending, to do pouring of water and things that they, they've been given pictures. There's a lotion pump bottle over on the side, and they look like they're having fun. A little girl comes up and speaks to the person taking video. These are little, if you look at these little girls, they're well fed, they're healthy, they're not abused.
They're not being abused. There's no adults in it. And Isaac Kappy never posted it. It was posted anonymously on a 4chan board, and then somebody later wrote this is Isaac Kappy's dead man switch. There's no, it is a red herring, guys. It's disinformation meant to keep you swirling and swirling like so many of you have done for the last year, and keep you off of there in La La Land while the real information doesn't go track down.
That's right.
Real information like, why was Isaac Kappy's belt on inside out? Go to the mind map and you'll find a photograph under remaining questions and leads. Like, why is his belt on inside out? It's a buckle belt. Who puts their belt on inside out? How come the license plate and registration for the F-150 was not found in any database?
It doesn't go to anyone.
I know, because I had someone look it up, and we looked it up in the database, and it's not registered in North America anywhere. How come the where's that here? The one of the officers asks to be seen. He says, can you show me out at the county attorney's for a 1015 on a 97? Well, a 1015 is a prisoner, and 97 is arrived on scene. So you got somebody in the dispatch recording asking the dispatch, show me on a prisoner at the county attorney's office instead of the arrived on scene. So there could have been an officer on the scene there that is being shown officially in the document records,
who doesn't want to be identified.
On the scene over at the county attorney's office with a prisoner.
Wow.
So, and there's so much more, Shaun. There's so much more in here. I urge everyone to go dig through the mind map, look at it, go through all the investigation, the leads not followed up on, the evidence not followed up on.
Yeah, if something tickles your brain and you do a little research and you come up with something and you want to submit it, send it over to Corey at info@thephoenixenigma.com. We'll double check it, and if your hit is good, we'll add it to the map. We want all the contribution we can get on it.
And the Phoenix Enigma website is at the top of the description box below this video.
Yeah.
You've got a question from Deborah True.
Sure.
Did Kappy trust the wrong person with the negative information? Could that be why he thought he had betrayed the president?
That could have very well happened. That's what
we were talking about that last night.
Yeah.
He might have trusted somebody. He might have told somebody he had it and what was on it, and it might have been one of those people that was the wrong person.
Yeah, could have been. But Isaac was very, very secretive, even with those around him. He didn't tell everybody everything. He didn't tell Alicia barely anything. She was there for emotional and support with him, and that was kind of where it was at. Yeah.
A lot of people asking about what Isaac knew about Tom Hanks and what he had said about Tom Hanks.
Oh, he said that Tom Hanks was dirty. I didn't hear any particulars on it, but he knew that Tom Hanks was. If you go to the mind map, and Tom Hanks has had his own box there.
Tom Hanks has a box.
I mean, this is an infamous box now. I even wrote a whole article about it. But Tom Hanks has a number of Instagram posts. He did one that says from March 13th, the day Isaac died. Tom Hanks posted, I think it says, the land of enchantment and lost gloves, Hanks. And it shows a picture of a white glove, right? On the day Isaac died, out there in the middle of the desert, in the upland desert, which is pretty close to what the desert around Belmont kind of looks like, just off there. That was weird that Tom Hanks, well, that's not the weirdest part. Before that, on April 4th, which I think I even did the numerology on that, he posted another one. It says, historic Route 66, roadkill? ? I hope not, Hanks. And it's a white glove on the ground, and he's photographing it. And if you go to the bottom of the picture, there is a cap with the letter P on it, a cap P with a white glove. Now, white gloves are Masonic. That is the hand or the work of man. Lost gloves, dirty gloves. Someone sent me an email last night, and thank you very much. They said, Corey, if you zoom in on the glove, you can see it's run over. The first one, he said, it's been run over by a tire. It looks like you can see the tire tracks on it.
Oh my God.
you know, and there's the cap with the letter P on it down below, and there's the white glove there. Then he had another one previous to that, on May 13th there, that had two handkerchiefs. One was a brown one and one was a red one, and the red one was right in front of an RV, like it's running it over, like it's blood. But if you look on the side of the decoration, it's all yucca plants and southwestern motif, you know, and right there, 1977 on the front label of, and Tom Hanks' son makes handkerchiefs. He has a handkerchief company, and he too was born in 77. But it says, bespoke perfection and gorgeous, Colin Hanks knows his kerchiefs. And right across the street from where Isaac got run over is an RV dealership. And right here on this handkerchief is an RV. Looks like it's running into with blood on the front. And he got run over by a truck in front of an RV place, roughly. So there's a lot there. And not only that, Isaac died on Route 66, right?
He was also born in 1977.
He was born in 1977. Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump, he runs on Route 66, right? Run, Forrest, run. And you got blood on the road in front of the RV, of course. You got Turner and Hooch, right? In the movie, Tom Hanks plays the part of Scott Turner, a neat freak cop in the fictitious town of Cypress Grove, which is actually Pacific Grove, California. The movie is the building at the southeast corner of Lighthouse and Forest Avenues was used to represent the city hall. Scott Turner on Forest Avenue. So Tom Hanks plays Scott Turner and in Turner and Hooch, and the police department where he worked at is on Forest Avenue. The guy that ran over Isaac Kappy's name is Forrest Scott Proctor.
Is Hanks, do we know if he's a Mason, and was Isaac approached by the Masons?
I have no idea. I highly doubt that Isaac was a Mason. To the best of my knowledge, I've never heard anything about it. I have never heard. I'm not saying anything about Tom Hanks here that no one else says. I mean, this is all over. Everyone from there. There's even documentaries about meetings with him. And who was that? Who was he meeting with? It wasn't Epstein. It was Clinton.
What?
In the background. And if you go on with the Russian search engine, Hanks was all wrapped up in it. You know, and
Hanks has a lot of.
Strangely enough, Hanks is now and his wife are now citizens of Greece, one of the few countries that don't have extradition back to the United States. He took off last year. This last year, he became a citizen of Greece.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tormented Soul has asked, is it true they cremated Isaac without the family's knowledge or permission?
100% confirmed. Yes, they did.
No, the family.
Oh, permission.
The family gave permission, but they did not identify him.
Yeah, they had permission from the mother and father, but they did not. But nobody viewed the body. Yeah, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that.
Judy Crowley has asked, do you think Linwood could hold a key from Isaac?
Linwood said that he had the torch of the truth of Isaac or something to that extent, right?
He says he has the key.
He said he had the key. He posted the key yesterday. He posted the password online. He says the intel he got, Isaac Kappy split up the file and the key to access the file in two places. Kappy put the file, the password online. You can verify that a certain way. And then the files were there, and you put them together, you'd have it to unlock it. That's what he said. He believes that Isaac trusted the wrong person, and that someone got that. And I gave Mr. Wood one of the keys that was bouncing around for quite a while because Isaac put it out publicly.
Yeah, it was he published it publicly.
Yeah,
in October of 2018.
So he could have published the key and given a few people the files, and then hoping they gave instruction. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe he gave them the files early and said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to publish the key." And then when his life was in real danger, he published the key, thinking that they would take that key and open the file. Maybe that was his dead man switch, and no one had time to do it or did it. Or maybe Tracy Twyman did it, called the FBI, and they took it and killed her.
That's really what I think happened.
That's what it's looking like to me at this point.
Okay, next question is from Lydia Shows. Does anyone have all his videos before the videos were deleted and taken down?
If you go to the Isaac Kappy mind map, go to Isaac's Periscopes, upper right-hand corner. I got about 80 something of them on there.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of them on there. Full full hour, whatever, hour and a half videos on there as Periscopes. It was a month to get all that done. There's other ones out there. If you got one on there that you don't see in there, send it to me. Send me the link and I'll get it burned off and put in there, guys.
It's so much fun to go and watch them.
Kathy wants to know, why were Isaac's dogs going crazy in the last recordings?
So there, in the last Periscope, you can hear a dog kind of barking in the beginning. I believe that somebody was with Isaac that night in that recording. I believe he was not alone. However, it's been said that you can hear a man in the background say, "Shut up." You most certainly, I cannot hear that. Alicia hasn't been able to hear that. I took the cutting of that, of the recording out, and I sent it to an audio expert over in the UK, actually, a couple months ago. And he sent me back and he said, "Corey, I did this and this and this to it. I got this, the greatest clarity you're ever going to hear on this." And I said, "Do you hear a dog bark?" He said, "I don't want to cloud your judgment. You decide here." I did the work. So I listened to it, and it sounds like a dog in the background making a noise, a grunting noise. You know more about the dogs than I do because you saw the dogs when you were there.
Okay, there were two dogs. There was a little brown and white dog with long, fluffy hair, and that dog had a pushed up face. It was a snorty, snarfy little dog, and it made a lot of noises, and it was kind of a vocal, chatty little dog. And then they had a little wiener dog that was also, both of the dogs were the type of personality that would kind of grunt and talk to you. And I could identify the first dog as the little wiener dog, and the one that makes the sound that everybody thinks is a man saying "shut up." I can identify from spending several hours in the house with those little animals that was that other little dog. It sounds just like the dog to me. That was my first thought. It didn't sound like a person to me at all.
It sounded like a dog to me too, and I wasn't even there. However, you can hear someone open a door and shut it in the background, and you can hear the dogs kind of get quieter. And he says he's alone, but I think someone was looking at him with a big knife saying, "You're going to say this right now. You're an actor. Act." You know what I mean? I think that's kind of what happened that day. And the next day, when you got there, he was absolutely terrified.
He was out of his mind with fear.
He probably hadn't slept that night. He was probably just on the last of what he had. And then
he was highly adrenalized.
Yeah.
He was highly adrenalized. He didn't stop moving except long enough to lay down for me to rub his feet. And that wasn't, that was a couple of times, and it was maybe 3-4 minutes before he got up, and a few times to lay down on his bed and have a hold. And that was 3 or 4 minutes at a time. He'd pull the cover up and lay really still and try and calm down his breathing and his heart rate. And then he'd hop right back up, and he was moving at the speed of light back and forth down the hall. I'm surprised there was any carpet left.
You've got a question from Chicken Dippers. Can you tell us more about the 5D section of the mind map? I'm intrigued by this too. I've read it.
Yeah, there is a place that I discovered on the internet. If you get down to the 5D, it's connected to remote viewing, CIA. It connects to target individuals in V2K, social media matrix. They're in going through this, and Shaun, it's dark, man. It's dark. There are some bad people on the net that will psychologically terrorize you and get you worked up and spun up into a lot of people don't go there. Some people do. That's what the puzzles are all about. And the whole group you'll find over at Schoenberger, that whole mess is all about mind messing and puzzles and stuff like that. And I think Isaac fell into some of that. But not to answer that, the 5D Earth belief is a meditation. It is a belief system where they're ascending their conscious outside of 3D to 4D to 5D into the perfect. They're manifesting the world through their own consciousness. Okay, I found when I was getting into that, because Isaac, I think, mentioned 5D once or twice, and I'm like, what is this? And I started looking into it, and I found a gentleman. I'm not going to say who it is. This guy over on Twitter put together. I was following him for quite a while. I was just what do you call it, lurking, and I'm watching it. It says, all right, I need three people to go in tonight at 11:30, and post reports tomorrow. I found out where they were posting to, and there was a Twitter feed to where they were giving orders to go in, and there was another feed to where they were reporting on the operation the next day. They were remote viewers. It was a band of psychic remote viewers who were going in, and or psychics that were attacking people in the other realm. And when I tracked them all back, they all had in common this 5D. So I started reading about 5D, and they're like, oh, come on in here. It's kind of a new, it's basically mysticism, meditation, consciousness, that whole Eastern, thing, repackaged, merchandised, and redeployed. And I think it is a hiring, it is a, what do you call it? It's a crowdsourcing to where they can find people with ability. And once they can find people who can really good, the talented ones, they pull them in, and they bring them over to the dark side, to the Siths, right? Like, hey, you can do this. Weird. And they fold them in there. And then I saw about 6 people regularly that were in this, but there were more of them that popped in and out. And they were taking orders from this one guy. That guy has since gone dark. His Twitter feed got killed. I can't find him. He is from LA as well. He's from California. All this ties into LA Hollywood, dude. So this whole 5D Earth belief thing has a dark side. And I believe, again, they are recruiting people with real psychic abilities and or remote viewers, and they're going in and doing attacks on people. Mercenaries. Isaac was talking a lot about prayer, a lot about meditation, and he mentioned 5D a couple times. I think he might have been dabbling in that, and I think that people may have been after him on that side. I can't prove it. It's just something I put in there as I went along. It has nothing to do with the actual, maybe not, but it was noteworthy.
Keith B has asked, what's the chance Isaac was having a manic psychotic episode? I've had a mental breakdown and was manic, and sounds a lot of what my same mindset was. This can trigger mental breaks like that.
It's possible, and that's what they said he was going through. I mean, that's the explanation. That's the official manic, deal. And he committed suicide on his way to see his mother with presents in there after the tire blew, after he was going to come back and see Alicia after he told 15 people he wasn't suicidal. I mean, maybe he...
when I sat with him...
Snapped.
This is a thing. After it happened, people came out and really criticized me for not taking preventative action because, his last written message in his last video looked very... But I sat with him and talked about it. We had a long conversation. He was lucid. He was... everything he was saying made sense. He wasn't doing other things that looked like manic episodes. And he wasn't doing things that looked like he was high on drugs. There were no drugs involved in this situation. He looked like a man that was terrified for his life. That's what he looked like to me. That's what he looked like to me.
I also want to, just real quick, I just thought about this with the 5D thing. You've all heard or seen the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. That was a real government project. That was CIA. And the CIA is doing remote viewing, and the CIA is involved with social media, and they do have hit squads, digital as well as physical mercenaries. It stands to reason that they have psychic hit squads as well. I mean, this is DARPA stuff. This is real technology. This is really funded. So
question from KOJ. Is there any evidence showing a connection of the ring? And I believe KOJ is referring to the ring that Isaac was uncovering. Is there any evidence showing a connection of the ring to Child Protection Services, CPS?
No direct. And I want to touch on this for 1 second. This is very important. I'm going to call it like I see it again. Isaac was not perfect. Isaac made a lot of mistakes. And one thing that Isaac did that pissed me off immensely was he made a lot of accusations, and he never backed it up with the proof. He said, I know it. I want to bring it out. I'll tell you about it. He never showed the proof. These are very serious. You do not accuse somebody of being a pedophile unless you have proof. However,
now we don't have access to, his computer and things like that. So we don't know what he had filed away. We don't know what he had filed away.
We don't know what he saw.
We don't know what he saw.
But however, when somebody is so let's say you're at the age of 10, and when you're 20 years old, you start talking about it. Do you have any proof? No, you don't. So there rarely is proof for this, but the network is there. You see the kids, the young girls at the party. You see the young boys at the party. You see it going on. You see the couch interviews. you know what goes on, and you hear what's talked about at parties and with your friends, and you know it's happening. And I think Isaac had a lot of that knowledge, and he pieced together. And I think he got down into the P movement, and that was centered and swirled all around that. I think he was fed a lot of stuff with the P movement that really got him spun up. And I think that he was on edge, and I think that somebody got information to him, and the rest, unfortunately, is history.
And for viewers watching this, I interviewed a guy called Darren Jeffrey here in the UK, and child services therapists abused him, picked him out. Interviewed a guy called Mike Tarraga. He was picked out. This just seems to be a worldwide problem. It's ingrained, and it seems that a lot of predators go to become employed by Child Protective Services or the Catholic Church or these other entities so they can get access to the kids.
Yeah, they found here in America that 85% of the child prostitutes and the young prostitutes on the street, 85% of them have been involved with Child Protective Services and foster care. Wow. 85%, yeah. I covered a story last year down out of Tucson on the military base there. There was a guy who was ex-military from that base, but he lived in town, and he was a foster father for this girl. She was 6, 7.
God, she was a little tiny.
And he just nonstop, and they had other men do it, and was just nonstop, day after day, week after week. And then they took her back and gave her to another woman who was doing the same thing to her down in the same town. And then she ended up,
they boiled her.
They boiled the girl, like, and this girl she had skin grafts. She's destroyed. And she's like 10 years old, and she's been her whole entire life. And this guy was like an officer at the military base down there. And, he got kicked out of the military for sexual, misconduct. And then they let him adopt a 6-year-old girl. I mean, you're right, man. It's everywhere, and it's disgusting, and it has to end. And I think everyone knows that, but I think Isaac much like Trump, Isaac didn't understand the strength of the dark side, how well entrenched they are, the length they are willing to go to. I think he totally what's the word I'm looking for?
He misjudged it.
He misjudged how much he thought that he could just bring light in and love himself all the way through, and the light would shine into all the corners. I don't think he understood that the dark side have arrows, man, and they really honed in on him. I think that's what happened. Unfortunately, he was this ray of sunshine. I don't think he was equipped. Spiritually, he was, but I don't think he was equipped physically to handle this kind of thing. We all have our little niche in this war. I'm an online guy. I'm a researcher. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I've made mistakes in this research. And I've corrected them where there are, but we all have our strong point. There are warriors. There's different kinds of warriors. And Isaac was a light, and he was loved and charismatic, and he was a front man. But I think when things got dark, he didn't have the tools necessary to protect himself and surround himself. And I think he completely misjudged what he was up against.
Yeah, I felt some of that myself last year when those arrows were coming at me, but I've bounced back. Okay, so we're going to wrap this up at the 3-hour mark. There's only about 3 minutes left. If anyone's got any final questions.
Any last questions?
We've got one here. How was Kappy's mum's original reaction, i.e. Kappy in witness protection?
No.
She believes, she has her beliefs as to what happened. It's not our place to her. I will not speak for her or the family, out of respect, and just common decency. But they have their own beliefs as to what went down there. So that's all I can say.
We've got a question about Epstein, but like I said, we're gonna take that over to another night, perhaps. I think people will be demanding you guys come back on.
Sure.
Was Lynn Wood the person he gave the wrong info to? No, he wasn't, was he?
I don't know. I have no knowledge of that.
Okay. All right, we're almost at the 3-hour mark now. So this has been an absolute blockbuster, guys. I was expecting to do an hour with you this evening. You have been so over generous with your time. I can't thank you enough.
You're welcome.
I was going to learn a bit, and this has been like an absolutely just mind-blowing deep dive between the two of you, your personal experience of knowing him, all the research you've done since then. I can't think of any other people on the face of the earth I could have spoke to and learned so much tonight. It's also raised a lot more questions in my mind and perhaps in other people's minds. People are going to want to reach out to you. I've got the Phoenix Enigma website at the top of the description box. I will also pin it to a comment because this video is just getting started. In the next few days, you're going to have a horde of people clicking over to the website. Do you prefer people just to click on the website and get your contact information off that? Or do you want me to put like an email address or anything in the description box?
I don't know. Either way, it's not really monetized. It's, I mean, we're here just to get the job done, man. They can go to the website and my contact information is there under the about, or they can just email me at info@the Phoenix Enigma, info@the Phoenix Enigma. And before we go here, I do want to say that I have not personally accused anybody of any misdoings. I do not know exactly what happened to Isaac. There are people written in that mind map, and I have reported upon quite a bit of it. I have a few opinions on some of those people from my personal reactions. I've interacted with most of them, but I am not making any claims that any of these people had any direct association with Isaac's death. I just want to make that clear.
I've just sent you the link to the live chat because you are getting bombarded with love and thank yous.
Cool. You're very welcome
and all kinds of information. People are just going crazy in the chat right now. This is one of the best live streams ever. Love and light, fantastic. Down with the evil. So yeah, I mean, this is a huge reaction. One of the best reactions I've ever seen to any guest I've ever had on this channel.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, thanks for having us, man. I do appreciate the time and the exposure. If you ever get to, are you allowed back in Arizona?
No, I am banned from America for life.
Are you kidding me, man? You're such a nice guy.
That's a
shame. Unless I could get some kind of pardon, but I think they cost a lot of money these days.
You may talk to Joe. I know Joe.
Not Joe Arpaio.
No, I do. I know him. I know. I've met him twice.
That's how I became an activist. Was I started writing little letters out of the Sheriff Joe Arpaio's jail, exposing the human rights violations in Sheriff Joe Arpaio's jail in Arizona. Yeah,
I have a book that's autographed by him. My father was a very, very big fan of his back in the day. A lot of Arizonans were because of his deal with the border issues and whatnot. But yeah, you're right. His jails are atrocious. Like beyond it, they're criminal. They needed to be redone, obviously. And I heard your story, and I want to say I'm sorry that you had to go through that, man. That was absolutely. I mean,
I put myself in through my own mistakes, and when I was in my 20s, I went off to a bit wild in the scene. So,
but the part about the cockroaches and dude, that was like, oh my god, that was something else. So I'm sorry to deal with that. But yeah, he's a character. He's a character.
This is like a standing applause in the chat. It's still going absolutely crazy. I've never seen anything like it.
No. Yeah, guys, we're an open book, and we've done our best to document this the best that we can. Like I said, we've made some mistakes along the way. I did some things early in the research that I would probably not do again. But I wasn't, I'm not a professional guy at this. I'm just a guy that picked up the torch because I was asked to, and I fell into it. And here we are. I mean, I'd have never thought at a year and a half later that this would still be this big. I thought it was something I was going to do and be done with and just make a few phone calls. Hey, listen, I found that out. But it's just turned into something that is now dovetailing with Trump, with the election, with Epstein, with Washington. And I'm afraid due to the current climate that we're about to, our winter of darkness we're about to go into here, that much of this is going to be covered up. And we may have to just resolve that they are going to cover this up,
Yeah, we've been discussing that on the channel. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
yeah.
We can get into that stuff on your other channel if you want to sometime. Anytime you want us on, man, just give me a call. You got my number. And
yes, I'm going to urge everybody watching this, please go and click on the Phoenix Enigma website. If you have information to provide to Corey and Alicia, then I'll put an email address down there as well. And just, thank you everybody who's stayed with us tonight and watched this. It's been just an absolute blockbuster, like I said earlier, and very satisfying day to spread information on our war against people and super predators.
Yeah.
Let's end that war on drugs, take all those resources, go after the predators of the world. It's the kids we should be saving.
Yeah.
And right now, all those resources are being wasted. I believe there's a lot of good cops out there that watch these shows, and we know that the orders are coming down from the top, and it's revenue generation and bullshit. But you know, as you guys in law enforcement and other people watching this in the political sphere can actually make those changes in the world, so the world is a safer place. And
they have an army of people out here, citizens, who are trying to save ourselves, and we need the leadership to step up. Okay.
I just want to say something to the viewers as well. I've got a little story about this antique watch. So many of you sent in all of your love because my best friend died last year. Wild man, best friend since childhood, had known him for 40 plus years. It was just before Christmas that I went to his funeral, just a couple of days before Christmas. And the attacks, the arrows, because of our mission, the attacks were intensifying all year last year, and the arrows were really coming at us, especially after Wild Man died. It was like people sensed, you know, my best friend had gone, I was down psychologically. Let's really attack this guy and take him down and spoil his mission. I'll tell you what, after this came from my grandfather, Fred. My grandfather, Fred, he was in the battle against the Nazis in Tunisia during World War II. He was left for dead on the battlefield, and he was actually rescued by Americans. So I know we've got a huge audience of Americans on this channel. I feel a special affinity with the Americans. I lived in Arizona for almost 20 years, but my grandfather Fred gave me this, and I never ever wore it. I wore it at Wildman's funeral. And at Wildman's funeral, I could feel the spirit of my grandfather Fred and Wildman, and the strength coming into me. And ever since that day, the people who are attacking me, a lot of them now have either gone or they've destroyed it. They've been fighting each other and destroying each other, and everything's completely reversed. It's like I could feel Wildman in the sky, looking over me and destroying my enemies, and everything has just bounced back so strong this year. And I think that the mission was stalled by all those arrows being fired at me last year. Everything from just trolls to black ops and all kinds of helter-skelter people coming.
And that's real. I mean, you're in a position to feel that. People don't believe us, and I'm in a position now to feel that. I'm catching up with you, but it's real. What you're saying is real. People come at you. Your phone calls get dropped. Your computers get hacked. The lies, the smears that come at you nonstop. You got to watch your six. You know what I mean?
And it wears you down psychologically. And I went from interviewing prison stories to interviewing victims of human the darkness. I didn't realize I was absorbing a lot of that darkness, and it did wear me down psychologically last year. But now we are back with a vengeance. You guys, you know, the subscribers, the viewers have shown how much you have my back. You got me through those darkest moments. I've got this now. I'm wearing it. I've got Wildman up there destroying the enemies, and there's no way they're going to stop us going forward into this coming year. So huge thank you to everyone out there who sent me love and support when you heard that Wildman had died. It meant so much to me. I felt your spirit with me. And we're going to end this right now. So like I said, in the description box are all of the links, all the links to our playlists. We've got the links for the Phoenix Enigma. We've got donation links. We've got links for all of the other subject matter we're doing videos on. We've got over 400 videos on the Epstein case down there.
Wonderful.
This is the channel with the most videos on the Epstein case, and these guys hopefully will gracious with their time tonight, but they'll come back on and we can do a deep dive into Epstein like we've done a deep dive tonight into Isaac Kappy and Linwood.
All we have is time, Shaun, and in the end you want to be able to look back and know that you put your time where it counted. So I just want to end with what Isaac always said, and to dovetail what you just said. Stay in the light and have fun, because if you're not having fun, you're not winning. That's what Isaac always said. Stay in the light and have fun. So that's our job.
And keep smiling. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'm going to terminate this now. Cheers from London.
Hope you enjoyed the podcast. There's another Attwood Family Shutters Factory video. Link in the description box on YouTube.
Bye, Daddy.
Bye. See you. Bye. If you want beautiful shutters that block out nosy neighbours, you can get a 10% discount using promo code Shaun, SHAUN. Link and number to call, Shutters Factory in the description box. If you are looking for a harrowing, hard-hitting Christmas read as a gift for somebody, my latest book, I've written 17. This is part of a free book series. Latest one, third in the installment, Sit-Downs with Serial Killers and Murderers. Link in the description box below this video. From the back, having gained a rep for earning the trust of some of the world's most dangerous people, Shaun delves into his most hard-hitting interviews with the most menacing and violent murderers he's ever met. From serial killers to brutal prison gangs, Shaun has collected his most fascinating and incredible conversations with shocking criminal figures. He explores the life of an armed robber, a man who spent 45 years behind bars, and a serial killer with 52 confirmed victims. That's Delmas Colvin. I had to listen to that podcast again the next day. It disturbed my sleep. It's the most chilling one I've ever done, I would say, was interviewing Delmas in prison where he's serving life. If you're interested in these books, we appreciate your support. Links will be in the description box below this video if you watch on YouTube. Cheers.